schools in Japan, because it's not so much academies like it is here and sort of youth pathways, but more university football. Karamatoma spent 4 years at the University of Tsukuba. He said he wouldn't be the player he is today without that experience. How important is that method for Japan?
Yeah, I think it's a fascinating trend and it's quite unique to Japan compared to the rest of the world. In fact, out of the 26 players in our current World Cup squad, 7 of them only turned professional after graduating from university. So university football in Japan is incredibly high level. It is a competitive environment for players who are serious about becoming professional footballers. For example, in the Emperor's Cup, which is kind of, the Japanese version of the FA Cup, it's not uncommon at all to see university teams beat professional J League clubs. So I think spending 4 years in that environment before becoming professional is not a disadvantage at all. In fact, it offers huge benefits, like it guarantees the regular game time and allows players to explore their potential with relatively less pressure than in a professional academy. Yeah.
I have a question. When we play, my name is Mario Melchiot, by the way.
Yep.
But when you play on a counter-attack, you said the team is set up to play on a counter-attack, but Holland's team is also set up on the counter-attack. So how do you think your team will answer to that? Because it has to go both ways. And so how will you react on that both teams are trying to play the similar kind of tactic at some moments?
Yeah, that's kind of hard to answer, but I personally think, the most notable strengths of Japan national team is this, the discipline. So Hajime Moriyasu, the manager, have been doing his job since 2018, and for this long time, the players naturally knows how they should play in the national squad. So our defense, our high press is quite organized, and they have the common idea to do the counter attack. So I think that's kind of different from other teams doing counter attack.
Tell us about the unity of this group, because Akira Nishino, the former Japan coach, has talked about a group of individuals coming together, letting go of their egos, they're fighting together, having unity. And again, they are a very, very unified outfit. You look at some of the players, the way, how aggressive they are and putting pressure on their opponents. Kubo, Doan, Nakamura, Ito. These are players that are playing together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also I think what makes Japan's unity even stronger is just the withdrawal of Mitoma, some big players like Mitoma and Endo, and those kind of players. I think there's a psychological impact. Of course, you can easily imagine how much the other players rely on them, both on and off the pitch. We do have veteran players like Yuto Nagatomo to lean on, but I think their absence is still a concern. But most of Japanese players, take it as a chance to do something special for them, for players who didn't make it. So I think in terms of unity, I think this current Japanese squad is the most, is the biggest in the Japanese national history.
Katara, the Japan fans have won a lot of admirers around the world for the way they behave in football grounds and their support of the team. Can we expect a lot of them to be in Dallas this evening?
Yes, of course. Yeah, I think they're gonna be very loud, and they're gonna be desperate to support our own country. So yeah, it's gonna be a really exciting game, I hope.
Kataro, great talking to you this evening. Enjoy the game. Kataro Asakura, Japanese football journalist from You Next, with us here on 5 Live Sport as we build up to kick-off. 25 minutes away in Dallas, the Netherlands versus Japan. Elsewhere in sport today, Ollie Robinson has been ruled out of England's second test with New Zealand due to a sore knee. The bowler only made his comeback in the first test after a 2-year absence from international cricket. Lewis Hamilton claimed his first victory for Ferrari in the Barcelona Catalunya Grand Prix. Championship leader Kimi Antonelli was forced to retire with 4 laps to go. Emma Raducanu has lost the final of Queens in straight sets to Croatia's Donna Vekic, but Britain's Olivia Nichols took the doubles tighter with her partner Teresa Mihailikova. In the other World Cup that's taking place today in darts, Luke Littler and Luke Humphries have won England's 6th title after beating the Dutch pair of Michael van Gerwen and Jan van Veen 10-5 in today's final in Frankfurt. And Real Madrid have agreed a fee for the Chelsea defender Marc Cucurella. The Spain international will make the move after the World Cup for a fee of around £47.5 million plus add-ons. Let's talk to former Chelsea fullback Mario Melchior about this. And Mario, from a Real Madrid perspective, Jose's got his man.
Yeah, Jose, you know what I'm saying? The key thing, why it didn't surprise me going after him. I'm not saying like for Cucurella to leave because I didn't expect it. I don't think anybody can say that they did. But for Jose, that's the type of player that Jose wants, because he wants a player that he can count on, and his mentality has to be right, and he has to also have the spirit and the winning mentality. So for him to go after him is not that big of a surprise, because it is kind of the player that fits in his criteria, how he wants to play. But away from that, I mean, Chelsea probably looks at it and thinking like, hey, we got Hato, younger, you understand, he's very talented, very developed as a young boy, and he's proven himself, especially in the last couple of games that he played of the season, that he can stand up for that position. So maybe they looked at it like from that angle, and then they want to see how they can build on from there, because you need 2 on a critical position like the left side.
How big a blow is this for Chelsea and their new manager, Xabi Alonso, to lose a player who's become quite an influential player over the past couple of seasons?
Yeah, definitely. I think the motivation and the eagerness, you understand what he always was bringing. I think he's not a player that you likely want to play against, and you won't enjoy it because, the way he plays it, the way he is. But as a player that you want on your team, I definitely would say Cucurella is one of them, because, he's always there. He always turns up, and you saw him, against... I don't think a lot of wingers enjoy playing against him because he's very good in the one-on-one situations. So I think that's why it was a big surprise, and Alonso will think like, okay, now I got to rebuild and think about that. And I don't think someone that comes from your culture, Spanish side, you're a new coach coming in, the communication would have been easy for Alonso to talk to him. But clearly, you understand, look, when Real Madrid comes knocking on your door, you're always gonna listen and think about it. And then he probably look at both sides. Now the question comes, one is not gonna play Champions League and the other one is. So that's why maybe the choice was made for him.
Paul Robinson, part of our commentary team in Dallas tonight. You cover the Premier League week in, week out. Is Cucurella, the Cucurella we've seen played for Chelsea the past couple of seasons, is he Real Madrid quality?
Yes, for me, he's the best one-on-one defender in the Premier League. I mean, love him or loathe him, the way that he carries on with his actions and his body language in and around the field. But actually, when you analyse his game and you see his defending in one-on-one situations and his commitment to the cause, and when he does get caught out of positions, on the rare time that he is out of position, he gets back in and he recovers the challenge. And what he does really well, he gives you that threat going forward. He's not afraid to overlap, put balls into the box. He's an attacking threat as well as his defensive qualities. I think it's a really good signing for Jose Mourinho. We know how pragmatic that Jose is, and we know the way that he likes to play. And if Dumfries is coming in on the other side, Dumfries on one side and Cucurella on the other, I think he'll enjoy with those 2 fullbacks, and I think Cucurella will fit in perfectly at Real Madrid. I think the fans will take to a player like him straight away, and it's one of those moves, like Mario said, it's when Real Madrid come knocking, they don't come knocking twice. You go.
I was going to ask, Robert, is this the start of mass change now at Chelsea? Obviously failing to qualify for Europe last season, a really, really disappointing campaign. Xabi Alonso maybe potentially coming in, tearing the script up as much as he's allowed to by their directors of football.
The biggest thing that we said towards the end of last season, it was how much is Alonso going to be allowed to do what he wants and what he needs to do. We know that he's a quality coach. We know that he's a quality manager. We've seen that and you know what he's achieved so far is in his fairly fledgling career as a manager. But actually the problem that Chelsea have had is the amount, in my opinion, the amount of people, the sporting directors, the recruitment, the people advising the manager. You look at the successful football clubs in our country. Manchester City, they had a manager in Pep Guardiola. Aston Villa, Unai Emery's a manager. He's not a coach. He's not given players. He has a say on the players that he wants. There is a big job to do at Chelsea because, as you say, it was so poor last season. Performances both on and off the field from Chelsea, in the boardroom, everywhere. There was something fundamentally wrong. Alonso is a fantastic appointment if he is allowed to do his job. Be interesting to hear what Alonso has to say on this transfer, because for him to go in there and immediately say, well, I didn't want to lose the player, the club didn't put up a big enough fight to hold on to the player, problems before it even starts. Or he's seen this as an opportunity, clear the dressing room out if he's got free rein to do what he wants and to turn it round. Interesting to hear what he says in his first interview.
Paul, hey, I always think about this. When we were playing, right? We were always thinking like you want a guy in front of you that is the boss. You don't want someone that has to listen to the above. And I think I totally agree with you in that sense. But don't you have that feeling that it's very important at Chelsea that they make sure that the manager is in charge instead of they being in charge?
100%, that's what it is. Make sure you've got a quality manager now. I think he is the right appointment, but he's got to be allowed to do his job, which other managers at Chelsea haven't. We've seen many big names at Chelsea, and we've seen a lot of success at Chelsea, but those managers under the reign of Roman Abramovich, when they had that success, they changed them very quickly. And actually the way that the structure's changed off the field now with Chelsea, with the boardroom structure and the recruitment, it will be interesting to see how much say that Alonso has. It took a while for the appointment of Alonso, so you would think that those talks were ongoing, and he was saying, look, this is what I want to do, this is what I need. And from a Chelsea supporters fans point of view and the club's point of view, you would like to think and hope that the manager has had a say in this transfer and sanctioned it.
No, I agree. I totally agree, because coming from Real Madrid, he didn't have it at Madrid. So then going to Chelsea, I'm sure that it's, you always look at one moment, why did I leave? Why did I have to leave? What happened? And you're always going to make it better, whatever move you're making. And he made that. But for Chelsea, I totally agree. Because even when I come to the club, the last time was just right before the end. You come to the club, you watch the game, and then you think, guys, you got to step up and start making a coach being in charge.
There's more comment on that story on the BBC Sport website, and at Marc Cucurella on his way to Real Madrid. Let's focus in on the Netherlands. Of course, kick-off 18 minutes away between themselves and Japan. And let's bring in Dutch football journalist Elko Born. Elko, good evening.
Good evening.
The Dutch made it to the quarter-finals of the last World Cup, semi-finals at Euro 2024, having not qualified in 2018. Where are this team now?
It's very difficult to tell, I think. 4 years ago, the Netherlands had a pretty good run. Whether they'll be able to repeat it this time around is difficult to say. We've got a couple of players in very good form. Malen up top, who's done well in the Serie A for Roma. Obviously, we've got Frankie de Jong in midfield, as well as Tiani Reinders. Gravenberch, who had a pretty good season for Liverpool. I think we have a lot of good players in the team, but we haven't seen that spark yet. I think a lot of the times the Netherlands have a lot of good players, and every now and then they have that spark to really achieve something and go far in the tournament. But so far we haven't really seen it from them this time around. So I think a lot of people in the Netherlands are really wondering what it will be like this time. Will they manage to go on another good run? People just don't know, and are very much looking forward to the game tonight. I think Japan is a good opponent, so it'll be a real test straight away for them, I think.
Ronald Koeman's such a different personality to the great Louis van Gaal, who we saw in the last World Cup and, of course, back in 2018. I mean, what can we expect tactically from his side, and maybe the in-game changes as well and the tweaks?
Yeah, I think those two managers, that's another big difference for the Dutch national team this time around as well. I think 4 years ago with Van Gaal, there was a very clear plan. Van Gaal was pretty straightforward, said, look, we're here to win the World Cup. We'll do everything to go to the final and take the cup home with us. Koeman is a lot more careful. He hasn't said anything like that. So it comes across as not quite as confident as Louis van Gaal, obviously. But maybe there's something to that as well, to downplay expectations a little bit, which is more Koeman's style. I think with Van Gaal we saw a little bit of a conservative type of game plan 4 years ago. I think with Koeman that's still the case sometimes, although he's given a lot of good midfielders, attacking midfielders and attackers obviously as well, with Malen up front, Cody Gakpo up front, Summerville, who had a great season in the Premier League as well up front, who did really well in the final friendly. So there's a lot of attacking potential as well that Koeman is not afraid to put out there as well. So yeah, we'll have to see how it goes tonight. There's couple of good substitutions for him possible as well. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I have a question. You know, like my name is Mario Melchior, by the way. I won't speak to you in Dutch. I will speak to you in English. But you know, I have a question. You know, when Dumfries, you know, he's one of the leader weapons for us going forward. But if he goes forward, you know that Van Hekken probably is going to be in a position sometimes that he might have to fill in that right gap. How do you think he's going to handle that situation? Well, because Van der Ven has the speed and the strength, the more comfortability in going left. But Van Hekken is not the first one I will pick that likes to go into that corner and play a 1v1 in that situation. How will he handle that situation?
That's true, but I do think if there's one thing you can say about Dumfries is that he's got a lot of attacking potential, obviously, but he's a very hard worker as well. So tracking back for him should not be a problem, I hope. And I'm pretty sure that Koeman and Dumfries are smart enough to realize that too. So with that right-hand side covered by Dumfries, I'm not too worried, to be honest.
No. That's why I said, you know, like for Dumfries, I'm not worried. I said Van Hekken in that corner.
Yeah.
For Dumfries, no, he's going to Real Madrid. And that ain't luck, my friend.
Yeah.
Elko, we've been wowed by the Netherlands over so many years. I mean, that game against Argentina, that move by which culminated in the Wout Weghorst goal is something that will live with me. It's one of those goals that just sticks with you. And they're always the entertainers, but they're always the nearly men. How do they get over the line?
Yeah. They're always the nearly men, right? In 2010, they got all the way to the final. They almost got there. Robben got on in a one-on-one situation with Casillas, the Spanish goalkeeper. He could have scored that goal, and the Netherlands in 2010 could have won the World Cup, but it didn't happen then. So for it to happen this time, we'll have to wait and see. But it's never happened before. Even in 2014 semi-final, 2018 got pretty far. Or the last time around, 4 years ago, they got pretty far again. It's never happened for the Netherlands. Not even that great team in the 70s with Cruyff in 74, Total Football. They did manage to go all the way. So if it happens this time around, I'll be very surprised, but very happy as well, obviously.
Elko, appreciate your time this evening. Go and enjoy the game. Dutch football journalist Elko Born with us here on 5 Live Sport. Paul Robinson is in Dallas, and John Murray, that sound, oh wow, it's just ramped up, isn't it? Who's out now?
Not entirely sure what they're cheering at the moment. But
they had a little game on the big screen as to which set of fans could provide the loudest set of decibels. Yeah. And here go Japan.
So I think the Netherlands was about 70-something decibels. Japan are getting 65, 67. They're not getting... No, 70, 76. I think it's a draw.
I want to know who calibrates the
Song Contest.
Who calibrates the machines which measure this statistic?
An honourable draw. Funny that, wasn't it? And it's actually, the thing is, Aaron, we're watching this on this screen that is hanging from the roof. I mean, that's got to be the size of a quarter of the pitch.
At least. I think it's the biggest in the world. It's absolutely huge. It really is. It does take your attention off the pitch sometimes, though, doesn't it? It catches your eye, the level we're sat at.
It actually does, because your eyes are naturally drawn to that, but don't worry, they'll be drawn to the actual action a little bit later on. But biggest screen in the world, but there again we are in Texas, where everything is bigger.
Paul, just looking at this group, of course, this is the first game of Group F. Does the winner, potentially take charge of it?
Yeah, absolutely. This is the toughest game in the group. I mean, when you look at some of the first round matches, the Brazil-Morocco match last night, and the winner of this game will progress as winners of the group, you would think. No disrespect to Sweden or Tunisia. These are the two that you would expect to progress from this group. And it's a big game right at the start of the competition, the biggest of Group F.
Mario, in terms of Ronald Koeman, how does he change it if things aren't going his way?
If he wants to tweak it, Bobby's one of the guys that can hold up the ball and make sure that the team, you understand, if they end up not be able to, let's say Japan is pressing a lot and Holland is struggling to come out of that press, you can put them up front, hold the ball up. That's one of the key things. The other thing for me is going to be very, very important. We got the middle of the field with Gravenberg, got the experience of Liverpool to sit in front of the defense. De Jong is one of our key players to be on the ball and create things. But sometimes, you understand, and Ryan is going forward, we don't know if they also have the eagerness and the nitty-gritty that you need to win the ball back, or sometimes win the ball for the team to calm the team down. And I think that's one of the biggest questions for Holland playing against the Japanese, because they're very energetic and very, very intelligent, like we already heard from the journalists prior to this conversation.
I feel, Paul and John, that the most commonly asked question by me over the last couple of days, and probably will be over the entirety of the tournament, especially the group phase, is, are these guys dark horses? Are these the darkest of the two dark horses in the tournament?
Or do you mean the Kurai Uma, which is Japanese
You've been on the
for
Rosetta
dark
Stone.
horses? Say again?
Have you been on the Rosetta Stone?
I asked some Japanese people downstairs, so they told me what the Japanese... So I noticed yesterday the Japanese coach even was referring to the fact that they were dark horses.
Aaron, it's brilliant when you see John talking to the Japanese fans and the supporters. They're more interested in seeing John, because we all know how tall John is, and he towers over them all. And he's like a tourist attraction when he walks past them all.
Oh, John. Onto the football, John, with regards to teams being dark horses.
They are definitely dark horses. We saw what they did against England. We know that they've beaten Brazil in the last year, in Japan. That was an amazing double, really. I know they were friendly matches, and England and Scotland were experimenting, but Japan put out a strong team and won at Hampden and Wembley in the face of a few days. The first Asian team to beat England, and they've got a real team ethic. They've got a lot of talent in there, and I think it is possible that Japan could go further at this World Cup than they've ever been before, but we will see.
You can hear 8 Mile Eminem in the background, and the teams heading out of the tunnel in Dallas. So, well, it's only fair if we let John Murray scene set for us, because this stadium is ready to host Group F. It's the Netherlands versus Japan, live and in full here on BBC Radio 5, live in the company of Paul Robinson. But first, your football correspondent, John Murray.
Yes, howdy everyone from Texas. The second World Cup commentary of the day that we've brought you from the Lone Star State. 5 weeks to the day, it is the World Cup final itself up in New Jersey, and Netherlands and Japan might think that they've got a sneaky chance of making it all the way there. We will see, but this is one of the most eagerly anticipated matches of the group stage. Netherlands ranked 8th in the world, Japan ranked 18th, and what a fantastic scene we've got in front of us. This is big time, big deal sport in this stadium here in Arlington, which is midway between Dallas and Fort Worth in northern Texas. The huge flags are down on the pitch. The players have walked out. They've lined up around the centre circle. We've got orange and blue everywhere in this cavernous stadium, and it's time for the anthems. white and blue flags of the Netherlands are being twirled all around the 5 tiers
for the national anthem
of this stadium. And that is the noise of the support from Japan. There are many of the flags, the famous white flag with the red circle in the middle, and also many of the supporters of the samurai blue have brought in what looks sort of like plasticky blue flags that they've been waving. We saw them on the concourse, and it was quite a sight in there, and they have been mingling, these two sets of supporters, whether inside the ground or outside, and I think they're going to provide an excellent backdrop in terms of the noise that you'll hear late on a Sunday night back home from here in the Dallas Stadium, as it's called. So Netherlands against Japan. The last chance saloon, they're calling it, for Ronald Koeman and some of his experienced Dutch players. I suppose if you're going to go into a last chance saloon, this is the place to do it, Paul.
Well, as you know, John, I've played in and been to, covering in the media, working as we do, some of the best stadiums in the world, some of the best stadiums in Europe, and it takes a lot for me to walk into a stadium and to be impressed. But this place just takes your breath away. It is absolutely phenomenal. From the outside, driving up, walking into the stadium, in the concourses, in the press boxes, everything about this stadium. And then you walk out and you see the pitch and you see the arena, you see the screens. There's nothing like this. It's absolutely phenomenal. What a setting and what an occasion.
Yes, it is the first big day at this World Cup for the state of Texas, with earlier that landslide for Germany against Curacao down in Houston, which is 230 or so miles to the south of here. We're up in northern Texas, and I'm just looking down on the pitch surface, way down there, Virgil van Dijk, the Dutch captain, winning his 93rd cap tonight, is just going through the pre-match formalities with Ritsu Dohan, who is captaining Japan. Of course, they lost the Liverpool man Wataru Endo earlier this week, who was struggling to be fit, but he was ruled out. So for the first match, Ritsu Dohan of Eintracht Frankfurt has the captain's armband on. The Dutch team are in it's almost even more orange than ever before, the kit that they're wearing this year. They're almost glowing down there, the 10 outfield players. Orange shirts, orange shorts and orange socks. It's got an electric feel to it, that kit, with Bart Verbruggen in the middle of the huddle, all in green. Japan also go into their huddle, the blue shirts with the white trim, white numbers, white shorts and the blue socks. Netherlands with Verbruggen in goal, Dumfries at right back, Van Hecker and Van Dijk in central defence, Van de Ven the left back, the Tottenham man, in this Dutch lineup of Ronald Koeman's. Then in midfield we have Liverpool, Manchester City and Barcelona in the shape of Gravenberch, Reinders and De Jong. Then Somerville of West Ham, Cody Gakpo of Liverpool and Donyell Malen, who is an Aston Villa player but has done exceptionally well in the second half of the season on loan at Roma. Malen scoring 15 goals in the second half of the season for them. And Japan with Zion Suzuki in goal. At the back, Watanabe, Taniguchi and Hiroki Ito, the three central defenders. Doan on the right, Nakamura on the left as the wing backs. Sano and Kamada in midfield. Then Takafusa Kubo, Ayase Ueda is the central striker, the top scorer in the Dutch league this season, Ueda, and then Dyson Maeda of Celtic on the left. Right, we're ready. Netherlands against Japan. BBC Radio 5 Live here in the Dallas Stadium for the first of its 9 matches. There will be a semi-final here to round things off. But tonight, it's the Dutch who are going to start things off. They will get the ball rolling in 5 seconds from now. Here we go. First match in Group F at World Cup 2026 is underway as the ball is played back to goalkeeper Verbruggen. The referee, incidentally, is an American, Ismail Elfath, who's an interesting story in himself. I'll tell you in a moment about him, but he is from Texas. He's from Austin, Texas, so we've got a Texan in the middle. But it is Japan on the move, with the ball played out to Maeda, who's taking it on towards the edge of the Dutch penalty area. High tempo start here, but Dumfries was able to get in position, clear it away. Then the pass forward towards Gakpo, who's over on the left hand side. Now it's the Dutch who come forward. Ball played into the middle. Well, he had the 2 choices there. The runners in the middle of Crescencio, Somerville and Marlon, but he couldn't find the pass to release either of them, Gakpo, and Japan got it away.
Started at such a frantic pace, it really has. Having been in these occasions, you get so hyped up before the game, the pressure, the nerves and the adrenaline, and it's who handles that better in the early stages of the game, who settles quicker, because that was an electrifying start already in this game. Both teams were looking to win the ball back so quickly, and the turnover of possession was extreme.
Yes, and the other 2 teams in this group are Sweden and Tunisia, and they play later today, our time, but actually 3 a.m. UK time. We'll have commentary on that in the middle of the night. If you have got to the point yet where you're taking your radio to bed with you to listen to the 5 Live World Cup commentaries, which I would advise on, of course, BBC Sounds. The Dutch with the ball at the back. Van Dijk goes for one of the passes that is his trademark touch, really, the long pass with the top of his foot. It's headed away back to De Jong of Barcelona. Frankie De Jong, who missed the Euros through injury when the Dutch got to the semi-final. Remember the dramatic events at the end of the semi-final in Dortmund when Ollie Watkins scored the winning goal for England. Ronald Koeman, manager then, Ronald Koeman, manager now as well, but out of contract at the end of this tournament. And it is Cody Gakpo of Liverpool cutting in from the left-hand side, plays it back to De Jong. The fair-haired De Jong just puts his foot on the ball. So comfortable in possession, isn't he, De Jong? He's a real throwback to some of the great Dutch midfield players.
Still only 29 years of age, and did wonder how they would line up in the middle of that midfield with Gravenberch and De Jong and Tijani Reinders in there, and it's looking like De Jong's going to be the one that sits in front of the back 4 and the other 2 in a more advanced position.
Yes, he's very much the anchor man, isn't he, with Gravenberch forward ahead of him to the right and Reinders in that position to the left. Gakpo playing it in. Marlon inside the penalty area. There's back to goal defenders with him. He's getting the turn in and shoots. And that's a very good save from Suzuki, throwing himself to his right. But brilliant play from Marlon. Well, he's brought his Roma form to the World Cup.
No, it's brilliant from Cody Gakpo, first of all, on the left-hand side. We see him do it so often. He cuts in and he threads a lovely ball into the path of Marlon. Marlon's got his back to goal. The central defender's on his back. He does so well. He's strong, he's powerful, he holds him off, and he gets his shot off at the near post, and that's a decent early save from Suzuki. It was one that needed to be made. Good play from the Dutch.
So first attempt on target, 3 minutes on the clock. Referee Elfath is just coming across because they are crowding goalkeeper Suzuki here, and I mean crowding. There must be 8 players around him. Here's the delivery in, which is headed away for Japan on the edge of the 6-yard box, and Japan deal with that first corner. But certainly the goalkeeper pressured there, Paul.
Well, it's one thing that they're going to look at, the Dutch team, is the in-swinging corners, the set plays. The goalkeeper was surrounded, but for Japan, actually, he's 6'3", he's the tallest ever Japanese goalkeeper at the World Cup, so hopefully you'd like to think that he could deal with them.
Yeah, actually born in the United States, Zion Suzuki, up in New Jersey, which we will be going, won't we, in a matter of days' time. But a Ghanaian father and a Japanese mother, and he was raised in Japan. And Zion Suzuki winning his 25th cap here tonight, all in yellow down to our right. Now the ball on the right-hand side with Gravenberg, and then it's played back into the penalty area for Somerville, who was making the run. Defender went with him, just leaned into him, did Taniguchi, and that meant, and that was enough. It was the right side of the line, and the ball was through for a goal kick.
Yeah, it was a good piece of defending, but once again, it's good play from the Dutch. The wingers, they look a real threat. Somerville on this right-hand side, Gakpo on the left-hand side, and it's something that they're using. They're pressing high, they're trying to win the ball back, but quickly, as soon as they do, they look to get the ball wide and make the pitch big.
So live from Texas, it's Netherlands 0, Japan 0. BBC Radio 5 Live. If you're on the move on a Sunday night, listen via BBC Sounds. And a great scene. 70,000 is the capacity. It feels like it should be more, doesn't it?
It's just massive, isn't it? It's just so cavernous. I mean, we're sat so high up. It's like looking down on a Sabutio pitch. It's a great vantage point.
And we've got the baseball stadium, which we can see through the big windows that are in the behind the goal to our left, high up in the stand. So that's where the Texas Rangers play, as Japan now building something potentially with the ball on the left-hand side. Here is Nakamura, who is challenged, and indeed he is fouled by Van de Ven, who'd come across to the other flank, leaned into the back of him, sent him sprawling, and actually just grabbed him, just a hand across his midriff. He went down, free kick to Japan on the left.
That's a perfect example of the way that these two teams play. The Dutch dominating the ball high up the pitch, and all of a sudden Japan counter-attack, and it was Mickey van der Ven who found himself in the right back position. He's playing left back, he was out of position because the Dutch were stretched, they were pushing forward, and Japan hit them quickly on the counter-attack.
So it's a free kick that could be curled in right-footed by Crystal Palace's Daichi Kamada. Must seem like 5 minutes, Paul, since you were watching him in Leipzig, and now here we are in Texas watching him at the World Cup. It might be a right-footed delivery from him, or it could be Kubo with an outswinger, but it looks more like Kamada. It is Kamada, high, deep one to the back post. I think it might be overhit. No, it was headed back into play, and then had to be headed behind by Van Hecke, who could have been caught by a high foot there. He was leaning down, but I think there was a high foot, and in any case the referee, I think the flag possibly was up as well, so it is actually a Dutch free kick, and he's alright, Van Hecke.
Yeah, it's a wasted free kick. It was a really good position for Japan on this near touchline, loaded the box up, the free kick was too deep, couldn't keep it in at the far post. Van Hecke wasn't to know that. He put his head in there, defended it very well, but the ball did actually go out of play.
Netherlands 0, Japan 0, and Verbruggen's goal kick has gone straight out of play on the far side of the pitch near the halfway line. Just caught a glimpse of the Japanese coach, Hajime Moriyasu, who I think, if I did see correctly, I think he's gone for the waistcoat. He's gone for Gareth Southgate style waistcoat. Need to see, yeah, he has. I can see him now, just standing to the left of the dugout. It's almost like I think it's a double-breasted waistcoat. But Ronald Koeman to his left. I mean, there's not much that Ronald Koeman has not seen and done in this game, and he is standing much more casually dressed, a sort of a brown combination, dark brown shirt, light brown trousers, hands in pockets, watching his team defending. Here's Maeda, had that brilliant end to the season with Celtic, left foot across from him, but Van Dijk came across, and I think he was caught there, Van Dijk, as he cleared it, as he was challenged by Uyeda, but he got it successfully away. But dangerous play from Maeda. And then that's a poor ball from Kamada, centre field, tried to spray it out to the right-hand side to Kubo, but overhit it, and it's through for a goal kick, and it's still 0-0. And this is Paul Robinson sitting here to my right.
That's twice they've got in good positions. Japan have wasted it, the final ball. It's panning out to be a really good game, exactly how we expected. Japan to sit back, play on the counter-attack. Their lack of possession, their stats is actually quite frightening. I mean, when you look at the England game and the Brazil game, they won both of those games this season with a combined total of 30% possession in both games, yet they still won the game. So they're a hard-working team, they're very comfortable without the ball, and as we've seen already in the early stages of this game, they have got such a threat on the counter-attack and the pace in the wide areas. And the impressive thing with them is how well coached that they are, and they all know their job. When they lose the ball, you see the position that they drop into and say, go on then, try and break us down.
Yes, in March I watched the Scotland game on the television, and we were live watching the England match at Wembley, and they are a very good unit, this Japanese team. They are not to be underestimated, and I think that, I mean, surely they will get through the group. It surely must be too good not to go out at this stage of the competition, and I think they will be a tough opponent in the knockout stages of this World Cup. The Dutch with De Jong, back to Van Dijk, and then it comes back to Virgil van Dijk. As I say, 93rd cap tonight for Virgil van Dijk. I remember him being made captain by Ronald Koeman. It was virtually the first thing he did, Koeman, when he returned to the team. Long ball from the halfway line from Van Hecker, and that is headed out of play for a throw-in to the Dutch halfway inside the Japanese half. Netherlands 0, Japan 0. So this is the second of 4 World Cup commentaries we're bringing you today. So we're in the groove now. Coming up at midnight tonight, UK time, Ivory Coast against Ecuador, which is the other match in the Germany-Curacao group. And then Sweden-Tunisia, as I say, begins in the middle of the night, 3 o'clock UK time. Van Dijk has overhit that pass by a distance from inside his own half. He apologises to all of his teammates in orange, and it's through for a goal kick. 0-0.
They look better, the Dutch, when they try and play through the lines. 1 or 2 longer balls that they've played, Japan have found it very, very easy to defend against. They're playing with that back 5. They're not trying to defend narrow. They'll defend the width of the pitch, and the longer ball they find more comfortable.
So it's a goal kick, and the referee is just telling Japan, what's he saying? And I think he's saying that, I think it's where they're taking it from, isn't it? Slightly fussy from Ismail El-Fat, and anyway they've taken it now. The goal kick, which Van Dijk comes forward and heads it forward for the Dutch, but it bounces down. Ito should clear that. He does, up towards Nakamura, socks down. Nakamura gets it back. They enjoyed that, the Japanese supporters, as he rolls it out to the right hand side, where the captain Ritsu Doan is able to carry it forward, but the Dutch are quickly back in possession. That was a real reminder of the World Cup back in 2002 in Japan and South Korea, when the enthusiastic Japanese and Korean crowds, they absolutely love a little bit of skill. Ball played in towards the edge of the penalty area. Maeda up against Van Hecker. Van Hecker was able to tackle him. I thought he was through him there for a moment or two. Comes back to Kamada as Japan play from right to left, as we look here high up on the dugout side of this stadium, the Dallas Cowboys Stadium, as Japan with Kubo now on the right, and then a left-footed ball into the penalty area straight at Van Dijk, who can say thank you very much and just side-foots it away downfield to the halfway line.
They are such a solid unit, this Dutch back four, and you look at the names, you look at the quality that they've got. But Van Hecker there is quite very, very clever. Maeda had got the ball, he cuts in from the left-hand side, cut into the box. It looked for all the world that Van Hecker was going to mistime the challenge. He knew fine well that he was inside the penalty box. He just stood and he positioned himself where the Japanese player couldn't get round him. Made a really good challenge.
Young lady just to our left makes her way up the steps wearing a Stetson.
I thought your head was turned for a minute then, John.
Yeehaw. And here is Nakamura, then back towards the halfway line. We're actually staying for this match in Fort Worth, and the strapline for Fort Worth is where the West begins, as De Jong steps forward, wins the ball back and breaks down this Japanese attack. It's played forward for the run of Gakpo, but it was overhit from centre field by Reinders, and Japan have got the ball back inside their own penalty area. Yes, Fort Worth, absolutely fascinating, and so much history in Fort Worth, because that was the place where JFK and Jackie Kennedy spent their last night before going on to Dallas and the momentous events of the 22nd of November 1963. But it is all over Fort Worth. You can't miss it. Here come Japan with the ball towards the left-hand side. Maeda back to the halfway line, and Hiroki Ito. Then Kamada in a deep line position, finds Maeda, chests it down, gets the cross straight into the chest of Dumfries, and it bounces behind for a first corner of the match to the Japanese.
He's been a threat, Maeda, down this left-hand side. He's been a good outlet. They've looked for him once or twice. He's got in some good positions, not managed to provide the final ball yet. He's run them another corner.
Yeah, Maeda, he's really caught the eye, hasn't he, after, what was it? It was 9 goals in his last 7 appearances for Celtic. Scored in the title-clinching win for Celtic against Hearts, and also in the cup final as well. Here's the corner for Japan. Kamada to the back post. That's headed away, good distance by Van de Ven. Comes back out for the Japanese. Kamada still over here on the left-hand side. Gets the ball onto his right foot and then angles it actually back out to the flank behind him. Keito Nakamura and then Kubo as well is over there. Then the cross into the penalty area, but excellent defending. Van Hecke, the darting run to the near post of Maeda. Van Hecke dived in on him, and the referee says the final touch was off the Japanese player. Actually, it's a goal kick.
Yeah, clever piece of skill once again. It's this left-hand side. They get into the 18-yard box. Nakamura gets in there, puts the ball across, and Van Hecke, it's a super challenge, it really is. Across the play at the near post. Maeda must have thought that he was in. Challenged it to perfection, Van Hecke.
Yeah, Van Hecke, one of two Brighton and Hove Albion players in this starting lineup, as well as the goalkeeper for Bruggen. And the ball's out of play for a throw into the Dutch over on the far side. Netherlands 0, Japan 0. If you've just switched onto us on 5 Live, this commentary coming live from inside the stadium. As I say, the home of the Dallas Cowboys, and you cannot avoid that, even though this is a World Cup football event. We've had at least 2 performances from the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders in the middle of the stand to our left, underneath a huge screen which just has Dallas written across the middle of it, and also hanging high from the roof of the stadium, way up above our heads to our left, 5 banners which tells you exactly the years that the Dallas Cowboys were, in inverted commas, world champions. As the ball is played over the halfway line to Gakpo, but in comes the challenge from Watanabe to put it out for a throw to the Dutch right on the halfway line, and they go back into their own half. And Van Dijk will just track the ball forward. In fact, turns it to his right to Van Hecke, and then the vividly blonde Van Hecke gives it to the slightly duller blonde De Jong, and then Van der Ven with a touch over there. And Gravenberch was under pressure as he played that pass, so Japan have been able to clear it back to the halfway line. Van Dijk thought about the long pass for Somerville, but here he is now with the ball at his feet, a little shimmy from him. Somerville still going, he's gone past Maeda, and then as the ball is played forward for the overlapping Dumfries, he couldn't get there, and the ball was put out of play for a throw into the Netherlands.
Intelligent play, overlapping the fullback there. Dumfries, he gets into a really good area. Somerville did well. Somerville's got that. He's a real attacking quality. His first thought 9 times out of 10, Somerville, he doesn't look to play the ball back in midfield. He doesn't look to recycle possession. His first thought is normally forward. Netherlands 0, Japan 0. That's the voice of Paul Robinson, World Cup goalkeeper for England. And Van Hecke in the centre circle. The press is on from Japan, and they were incredibly successful, weren't they, with the press in the match at Wembley, as the ball is deflected out of play by Kubo. The other point we should make, again, we haven't said it since the start of the match, this is the roof is closed, the temperature is controlled inside this stadium. It's probably about 20 degrees, something like that, and much warmer outside, even though it is it's the least warm day that we've had so far in Texas. Here's the ball on the right hand side for the Dutch. The cross from Somerville, that was good, but it was headed away, dealt with, and it's come out to Kubo, who's able to turn and chip it forward for the run from Watanabe, who wins a throw-in on the halfway line, which is being loudly disputed by the Dutch, but the throw-in has gone to Japan. Does well again there, Somerville. Very, very direct, skipped past his man. You're going to have to be careful, Japan. They're playing with wing-backs, but when Somerville gets on a run like that, they need to double up on him, because left one-on-one is very dangerous. Yeah. And back go the Japanese in possession inside their own half. Quite a blow not to have mentioned the Brighton players on the Dutch side. Quite a blow for Japan not to have Kaoru Mitoma of Brighton, but Maeda's come in that position after and he's brought his form really in these opening minutes of this match from the latter stages of the season with Celtic. The ball, here he is, Maeda then misplaces the pass, and De Jong, excellent play from him under pressure there. That was great Barcelona midfield play from De Jong. Gravenberch now with his pass to Marlon. He's had the best chance of the match so far. Gakpo cutting in, back to Marlon. Marlon with a touch, still inside the penalty area, but it just ran away from him as the challenge came out. I think it was Watanabe who got the touch on that. Could have been Watanabe, could have been Sano, but in any case the Japanese have got it away, and it's still 0-0. Just couldn't get it out of his feet there, Daniel Marlon, and once again it's good link-up play from Gakpo, cutting in from the left-hand side. This time fires it in quickly into Daniel Marlon, but his first touch let him down. It bobbled around 2 or 3 defenders, and he just couldn't get a strike off. So the Dutch are back in possession in this almost glowing orange kit. I do sympathise for anyone who's commentating on this match off the television, as
as is now so often the case, I have a feeling that the numbers on the television will be quite difficult to see. Back it comes to De Jong. De Jong angled forward centrally, then worked to the edge of the box. Gakpo drags it back, still going. Back it goes though to Van Hecke, 40 yards out. Van Hecke takes it on, then passes it to Somerville. Somerville, who, when I've seen West Ham this season, has usually been on the left-hand side, but is playing for the Dutch on the right. Then out to the left-hand side again. And the Dutch with the ball into the penalty area, a little return pass, but Watanabe was able to step in there and get a foot to it, and then Kubo was challenged from behind, but I think it is out for a Dutch throw. It is, which has been given, and they've taken it quickly. The Dutch trying to up the tempo here, and as I say, heat not necessarily a factor here inside the stadium tonight. Still have the rehydration breaks, of course, nevertheless, as Somerville passes it back to Van Dijk. The Dutch now playing for this little period of the match inside the Japanese half. Doan is back defending. Now Reinders, number 14 on his back, the Manchester City man. Double cup winner with Manchester City this season, although he was an unused substitute in both finals at Wembley. Tijani Reinders. Now again the Dutch, just outside the Japanese penalty area. Van de Ven will actually play it back to Van Dijk. Patient play from the Dutch, but as Paul Robinson has said, the Japanese don't mind the opposition having the ball, and very well drilled. Then there's a foul by Hiroki Nakamura, it is rather, and it's a free kick to the Dutch again.
You watch the game and you think, you know, Holland, the Dutch, they're going to create a chance, they're going to break this Japanese team down. You know, why are they sitting off so deep? But this is what they do. And you think about the game so far, 20 minutes deep, you think of the chances that the Dutch have had. It was only the early one from Marlon that's caused the goalkeeper any real trouble. Other than that, yes, they've dominated the possession, but they haven't been able to make any breakthrough.
Netherlands nil, Japan nil, and then Van Hecke tries a pacey pass, which Reinders got a foot to, but couldn't control. And Doan's back there in his right back area to clear it away. And I'm being told from our colleagues back in Salford that yes, indeed, on the televisions in Salford it is difficult to see the numbers. I thought it might be on the television because, as I say, they almost glow, these Dutch shirts.
Well,
that's good play from Gakpo, and then the covering challenge came in though from Sano. He beat Doan on the right. Excellent. It might have been a nutmeg.
Nutmegs, absolute nutmegs. Brilliant piece of play from Cody Gakpo. So quick, his first touch, and he flicked it with the outside of his boot straight through the defender's legs, but then couldn't get away.
Yes, a bit of the old Dutch nutmeg, as Japan now bring it forward themselves with Ito, and then Nakamura, the number 13, who plays actually in the second division in France with Reims in the Champagne region of France. Japan with Doan for Kubo, who was tackled by Van de Ven, and the ball is out by De Jong, and the ball is out of play for a throw-in to the Dutch. And actually that is it. We will have the rehydration break, which really tonight is totally unnecessary.
Well, it's your favourite part of the game, John. Why would they leave it out, especially when you're coming here?
Well, let me, Paul, we should tell the listeners back home that in the United States, on the television, as we've discovered over the last couple of days, this is a blatant opportunity for an ad break on the television. And what happens on the television in the United States, the rehydration break takes 3 minutes. That is entirely adverts on American TV.
Well, we've had this conversation, haven't we? They've got their 4 quarters. That's what it is. They've got the 4 quarters. I mean, we've seen goalkeepers going down, getting injured, and, you know, taking the time. They've tried to move that out of the game. But actually now, with this 3-minute break, it gives the supporters a chance, you know, to go to the bathroom or whatever. It gives the managers a chance to get the players in and talk tactics. But as you quite rightfully say, it is absolutely not needed. I mean, it's just the temperature in here is pleasant. It's lovely. It's air conditioned, all controlled. But then there's the argument. Then the rules have to be the same for everybody. If you're going to have hydration breaks and give managers opportunity to speak to their team midway through some games and not others, it's not a fair competition.
Yeah, you will see these breaks, or hear about these breaks, in every match at this World Cup because it's part of the regulations. And I know we don't like it, and actually
I actually don't mind it, John, because the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders have just come back on, so I don't mind it too much.
In the stadium, we've actually got a performance by the cheerleaders. The world's gone mad.
I think the fourth official's just put up 2 more minutes on the hydration break.
The world has gone absolutely mad. I mean, what we are seeing here and now, and I know we are in America, this is the Americanization of the World Cup. We've got advert breaks on millions of American televisions, and we've got the cheerleaders. We've got the cheerleaders performing inside the stadium while the players are down there on the pitch.
And that big screen's coming in very handy now.
Well, they're actually on a stage in the second tier of the stand, so we can see them to our left. So that's at the baseball end of the ground, and eventually the referee's going to call them back. Yeah, I mean, they know, they've been told how much time they have. And so I was going to mention the referee. He's from Texas. He was at the University of Texas, but he's actually Moroccan. He was born in Morocco, and he came to the United States as an 18-year-old and went to the University of Texas. He's 44 years old now, so he's one of the more experienced referees. But big day for him to referee in his home state. So Ismail El-Fath has now called the players back, and we are going to see play resume with a throw-in to the Dutch halfway inside their own half. The thing is, we talk about this, we don't like it, but very often American sport will set the template for what then happens around the rest of the world. So do not be surprised if this is the sort of thing that becomes commonplace, these timeouts, because that's what it is in this match. So 25 minutes have been played. Netherlands 0, Japan 0, and I know people are saying, why don't you stop the clock as well during the water breaks, the rehydration breaks, which I think is also a fair point. The Dutch take this throw, then get it moving. Gakpo, here is Marlon. Marlon has Japanese players all around him, and between them Japan have got the ball back, and it's worked forward and then deflected out of play for a throw into Japan on the halfway line. So despite the the high tempo of the match here, and in these conditions it's probably as high tempo as we've seen, we now can't avoid the fact, because we've got it on this massive screen right in front of our eyes, the Dutch have got 55% possession and the Japanese 35%.
And then in the bottom it said in contest it was 10%.
Japan with Maeda down the left, up against Van Hekke. Then Kamada outside the box, curls it in, looking for the run in from the far side from Doan, but it was comfortably and easily headed away by Van der Ven, who was able to step forward and get it away. Netherlands 0, Japan 0. Coming up later, midnight, Ivory Coast against Ecuador, 3 a.m. Sweden against Tunisia, both live on 5 Live, because we have commentary on 92 of the 104 matches, so coverage of all of the matches, 92 of them commentaries either on 5 Live, BBC Sounds. So as I say, get used, you can take the radio to bed with you and then catch up on all of the news on 5 Live breakfast from 6 a.m. the next morning with Rachel Burden in the UK and Rick Edwards here in the United States over on the west coast in Santa Monica. Cross from the left for Japan. Van Hekke is able to get away that ball that was swung in by the left foot of Hiroki Ito. Now Kaishu Sano to the right. In it comes to the penalty area, Maeda, and then on the edge of the box, twisting and turning. The shot comes in the end from the angle, but it flies away over the angle of post and bar from distance from Hiroki Ito. Didn't threaten the goal of Verbruggen.
That was a wasted opportunity. It was good play from Japan in and around the edge of the box. Ball played into Ueda, does really well, holds it up and sets it into the path. Nakamura takes on the shot, wastes it.
He's a stocky little character, Ayase Ueda, the number 18, long black floppy hair, 27 years old, top scorer in the Dutch league in the Eredivisie this season with 25 goals, 26 in all competitions, which was a personal best for him. So the Feyenoord Mad playing up against the Dutch here tonight in the first match in Group F, match 11 of the tournament to be precise. Netherlands 0, Japan 0. Here's Cody Gakpo, 3-goal joint top scorer at Euro 2024 2 years ago. Gakpo comes back to his Liverpool teammate Virgil van Dijk, and then all the way back to Van der Ven, latches onto this, left-footed low cross, that's cleared away from just outside the 6-yard box. That was good from Van de Ven.
He's got so much pace, he really has, and that's the first time that he's got on the outside of Cody Gakpo. We see Gakpo cutting inside all the time, and that time actually he stayed and he allowed Van de Ven to go around the outside of him. The turbo boost came on, first touch got to the byline, but none of his teammates could keep up with him.
Yeah, and now it's Somerville in the lime green boots. Somerville, quite a central position with Dumfries out to his right. But the Dutch actually switch play towards the left-hand side, and it's Gakpo again, then Reinders, middle of the Japanese half. Reinders lifts a pass towards the edge of the area. Nakamura gets up and heads that away. With almost half an hour played, still waiting for the opening goal of this first match here in this stadium. Gakpo again, coming across from left to right. Gakpo's cross deep to the back post. Dumfries heads it back across, but it just lands. He was slightly stretching for that, and he could only head it forward and onto the roof of the net.
That's good fullback play, arriving late at the far post. Once again, Gakpo cuts in on his right-hand side. He puts a ball to the far post, just out of Dumfries' reach.
So it's a goal kick to Japan. And it does appear that Dumfries is going to be moving to Real Madrid, to Jose Mourinho's Real Madrid team from Inter this summer. It's not been officially confirmed that yet, but it does seem that it's just a case of dotting the I's, etc. But that'll be an interesting challenge for Trent Alexander-Arnold at Real Madrid if he has competition from Dumfries.
And we saw Carvajal, we saw him a couple of times last season. We saw Carvajal play there as well, and it's been a position that they've chopped and changed. And actually, when you look at Mourinho, we said before, didn't we, when we were previewing the Cucurella potential transfer there as well, with Cucurella and Dumfries, two very pragmatic, good defensive fullbacks that Mourinho will like.
Yes, that confirmed today. Cucurella's moved from Chelsea to Real Madrid, and they feel like Dumfries and Cucurella feel like real Mourinho full-backs. Here's Van Hecke. It's 0-0 here. And the grey skies actually outside the stadium, but the roof is closed above our heads. It's a see-through roof, so we can see the greyness above the stadium, the vast height of this stadium. I noticed in our BBC guidebook, did you see that? It said from the pitch to the roof here, you could fit the Statue of Liberty inside this stadium.
Do you know what else I've just noticed as well, John? All those lights when we came in the stadium yesterday, the lights that they put on the pitch to grow the grass, there's nowhere to take them out. They're all strung from the ceiling, all suspended above that massive screen.
So they are. Yeah, hanging from... It's actually like being in a theatre, isn't it? It's like seeing the lights in a theatre hanging from the roof, those pitch, what do you call them? Pitch... lighteners,
grass growers, illuminators, pitch enhancers.
Yeah. Well, there's a challenge for you. 85058. If you're a
there will be a name, won't there?
If you're a football league ground person, then let us know what the actual name for them is. Netherlands 0, Japan 0. Late on a Sunday night back home. I hope you've enjoyed the World Cup and our coverage so far. It is Japan on the back foot. Gakpo with the cross into the penalty area, but a stretching header away by Taniguchi. Comes back to the orange of the Dutch, Van Hecke, and then Dumfries just gets the ball where he wants it. Somerville at close quarters. Interesting to see how Somerville and Dumfries will work together. Somerville's very often in a tucked-in position, isn't he, on the right-hand side. Here's Gakpo again. Gakpo just leans into the challenge that comes in on him, and then it comes back to him, and then he uses Van Dijk. Gravenberch was going to make a run there towards the edge of the penalty area. Now it is Somerville again. Dumfries wider on the right-hand side, the number 22. Bounces off Marlon, and Japan are able to get it away. Again, long spell of possession, but then it's been lost by Maeda, and it's taken on into the box by Marlon, who looks for a sort of cross shot, and it hits Taniguchi, who dropped down to one knee, and that deflected it behind for a corner. A little slip from the Japanese, almost let the Dutch in there.
They were so submissive with possession for such a long period of time there, the Japanese. They were dropping deeper and deeper, but they were patient. They won the ball back, but then two of their players got in a real mess, and Marlon nipped in, got into the 18-yard box on the angle, but the defender slid across very well.
Tijani Reinders to take this corner from the right. Somerville makes himself available, but players grouped on the edge of the penalty area. Got Marlon on the edge of the box, and but the central defenders, Van Dijk, Van Hecke, Van de Ven, the three Vans, are all on the edge of the penalty area. Here's the corner from Reinders, and out swing, which is headed and saved. Oh, I think it was Marlon who got the head to it. Then it comes in again, and this time Van der Ven got his head to it, but couldn't direct it on target. But if that had been either side of Suzuki from Marlon, there were two Dutch players there. Either side of him, that would have been in the back of the net for the opening goal, but it was straight at the goalkeeper, low down. Was able to crouch forward and parry it away.
Yeah, you call that absolutely right, John. Either side of Zion Suzuki there, they've had a real problem. It was a simply well-worked corner from the Dutch. It was just an outswinger. Marlon was surrounded by two Japanese defenders, but somehow managed to get space just inside the near post, directed his header towards goal, but straight at Suzuki.
10 minutes of the first half to play. Netherlands 0, Japan 0. And they're the two chances, really, for all of the enterprising play that we've had. Marlon's early shot that was very well saved by Suzuki, and that one there which was straight at him.
He's looked sharp though, hasn't he, Marlon? He's looked really sharp. I mean, he finished the season extremely well at Rome. It'll be interesting to see where he ends up next season, but actually he's been the one. He's occupied the two Japanese central defenders and caused them problems.
Yes, it will. Or whether Unai Emery decides that he is part of his plans at Aston Villa. But since his debut for Roma in January, only Harry Kane has scored more goals in what they call the top 5 European leagues than Marlon has. Kane 15, Marlon 14. And if you have got in touch about the devices that encourage the grass to grow, they're called pitch grow lights, grass grow lights, or turf grow lights.
Ah,
there you are.
Inventive name. Does what it says on the tin.
What it says on the tin. It's a free kick to the Dutch on the right. Reinders to take it. Netherlands 0, Japan 0. After already today, Germany 7, Curacao 1. Reinders with the free kick to the back post, which is headed down across the penalty area, but then a stretch for it by Gakpo. And in stretching for it, he could only shoot up and over the top of the goal in a crowded penalty area.
I think that's a decent chance for Cody Gakpo. Really well, the Dutch with a free kick, keeping it alive at the far post. Ball comes across Gakpo, he almost slips as he hits it, gets underneath the ball on the volley almost, up and over the crossbar. Simple set plays from the Dutch, but effective.
So a goal kick to Japan, and I think there's a Japanese player sitting down. Is he just tying his bootlaces? Watanabe, I think he is, isn't he? So he's not got a problem, he's all right, and the goal kick will be taken. Netherlands 0, Japan 0. As I say, we're midway between Fort Worth and Dallas. We must get into Dallas, mustn't we, in the time that we're here, because we're here for the England match as well. You'll hear that with us on Wednesday night when England play first. That's 9 o'clock UK time, 9 o'clock BST. That'll be you and me, Paul, won't it, for England against Croatia in this stadium. And then Scotland play next on Friday, 11 o'clock against Morocco, 11 o'clock UK time. And every day, almost by the hour on 5 Live, we will bring you the latest from inside both the Scotland and England camps.
What a spectacle that England game is going to be in here. We know what the England fans bring to a tournament, and we know what they bring to every game. To see them inside this stadium, and the atmosphere is going to be absolutely phenomenal. So make sure you tune in for that. It's going to be an incredible evening, it really is.
Yes, do not miss that. England against Croatia. And it was one of the question marks really coming to the United States, with the expense, the cost of the tickets, the transport, the hotels, how many supporters of the teams there would be. But it is probably true that there are 10,000 or more Dutch supporters inside the ground, and probably a similar number of Japanese fans. The two teams, the outlay that people must have had to make, and the sacrifices financially to be here and support their teams is you cannot understate it.
No, and they've made the most of it as well, haven't they, with the cost of living and everything else over here. It's not cheap, is it? No,
it really isn't. And the tipping as well. Don't forget that if you're coming to the World Cup. You've got to take that into account. Here's Somerville on the right-hand side for the Dutch. Somerville, little ball into the penalty area, just got away from Dumfries. It was the right thinking, that, from Somerville. That could easily have released Dumfries. Stretch couldn't get there, and Japan cleared it downfield.
Yeah, they've had the best of the play of the Netherlands, but they've had the best of the play in the wide areas. Gakpo and Somerville have been the most effective. Marlon's had the better chances, but those have both been created by the two wide players. They've all come from wide areas.
Netherlands 0, Japan 0. And also the food inside this stadium is amazing compared to many sporting stadiums. We had possibly the biggest beef sandwich I've ever had. It was like a Sunday lunch in a bun.
Beef brisket. It was rather nice, wasn't it?
How much did they cost, by the way?
Oh, I didn't look.
You must have been.
I'll put it on your bill.
I mean, it's got to be $25 for that.
I think the prices inside the stadium are slightly elevated. Oh, Gary's got his receipt.
It was $19.25 for that sandwich. So if you want that and you're coming for the England match on Wednesday, then start saving. The ball's deflected out of play for a throw into the Dutch on the halfway line. And so they start again. The Dutch, famously the team that has reached the final 3 times at the World Cup in their previous 11 attempts, 3 times in the final, but have never won it. The team that has played in more finals without winning it than anyone else. And back it comes to the halfway line. Yeah, that brilliant Dutch team of 74, then again in Argentina in 78 when Johan Cruyff didn't go, and then that ugly final in South Africa as well against Spain. Cross from the right from Dumfries, that comes off Maeda, and it's out for a throw-in to the Dutch down the right side. Dumfries, who's one of the rarities in this Dutch team. Only 2 of this team do not play in the Premier League or not with Premier League clubs. I know Marlon's been playing for Roma this season, but De Jong and Dumfries, the Barcelona man and the soon-to-be Real Madrid man.
It's quite incredible what you said before the game, that stat that Japan have got more players playing in the Dutch league than the Dutch have.
Yeah, well, there's only 2 Dutch-based players in the Dutch squad, and neither of them are in the team. Here's Van Hekke. Back to Dumfries, who's got boots to match his glowing orange kit. Dumfries, then into Van Hekke. Square from Van Hekke to Van Dijk. And now here's Gakpo again, who's not getting much joy trying to cut in from the left-hand side, as we see him do so effectively very often for Liverpool.
And I think with Van der Ven playing there, he's not naturally a left-back. We know that he can play there and he has played there, but the relationship with Van der Ven and Gakpo has been one of a standoffish one. They've not worked well together, and Van der Ven's only got round the outside of him once.
Yeah, and Doan and Kubo, who are playing on that side, Kubo, the Real Sociedad player, they're doing a good job on Gakpo together. Ball comes through the middle. That is intercepted by Sano in the midfield. Sano with a pass over the halfway line. This is for Maeda to chase, but the Dutch have got bodies back quickly. Still low arriving on the left. It's Nakamura. Nakamura down the left wing towards the corner flag. Nakamura with a cross, but I think he's overhit that. He has. It's curled out of play before it came back in. And it is a goal kick. Netherlands 0, Japan 0, and 4 minutes to go of the first 45. Paul Robinson.
That's been the story of their first half, Japan. They've had 1 or 2 opportunities in the final third, but a lack of quality and a lack of the correct decision making, if you like, and delivery in the right areas. We've not really talked about Bart Verbruggen in the Holland goal. He's had very little, if anything, to do.
And the Japanese goal all the way back to their goalkeeper. It's mid-afternoon here, or a little bit later than mid-afternoon, 3 o'clock kick-off local time, so still plenty of daylight for us to get back along Interstate 30 to Fort Worth. We're not very far away. Arlington and Grand Prairie are the 2 places that are between Fort Worth and Dallas. And I noticed on the map, we're not very far away from Waxahachie, which could only be somewhere in America. Deepest America. Waxahachie. I wonder what happens in Waxahachie. Netherlands 0, Japan 0. Now it's being brought forward by Taniguchi, who passes the ball out to Doan, and then back it goes towards the halfway line. Really, it's been a half of few chances. 2 good teams, quite even. And that early save from Zion Suzuki to keep out Marlon is the closest that we've come to a goal. Now here is Kubo carrying it in from the right. From the back, Watanabe. Now to Doan with his dyed hair. Then the overlap and the cross deep to the back post. Oh, it's come out for the shot from, what was that? Probably 12 yards that was dragged wide by Nakamura with his right foot. Had time to control it, but then with the right foot swish, sent it wide by a couple of feet.
Yeah, that's the best chance for Japan in this first half. The Dutch very, very narrow defending. Ball over from the right-hand side. It evades every single one in an orange shirt. Somerville tucks in, and Nakamura finds himself in loads of space at the far post on an angle. 12, 13 yards out on the angle. Really good first touch, but then he snatches at the shot and misses at the near post.
Yes, and a flurry of gasps and excited noises from the Japanese supporters when they saw it replayed on the big screens almost instantaneously. That Japanese family that I was talking to, by the way, I said to them, I said, so what's the Japanese for dark horses? And they looked at me and they said, it's dark horses. And I said, no, but what is it in Japanese? And they said, no, we would say dark horses. And I said, but no, I would like to know what dark and horses means, what that is in Japanese.
I wondered why you were so long.
Yeah, exactly. It took me a long time for them to work out what I was doing, so I did have to explain to them, and as it turned out. So that's why, if you heard the coach yesterday talking as he did, Hajime, it's just a stoppage at the moment in centre field, Hajime Moriyasu, and he did actually refer to them as dark horses, hence the reason I thought I would like to know what that is. And it turns out dark is kurai and horses is una. Ball played through into the penalty area, and the shot into the side netting from Ueda. The cheers from the crowd is a little bit misleading there, because it was from the right side of the area. He went for goal and he hit it wide of the near post into the side netting.
He's unusually got down the side of Virgil van Dijk there. Good ball from Kamada in the midfield, slips Ueda in on the angle again. He hits it just off the outside of his right boot, and as you say, it hit the top of the side netting. But to the supporters down beneath us on this side, you might have looked to some in the corner that it found the top corner of that near post, but it hadn't. It missed the target by some distance.
We're in the 45th minute, so we will have presumably at least 3 minutes of added time for the Powerade hydration break, to give it its full title. Here's De Jong for the Dutch. Not been quite as influential as I thought he might be, but it's competitive in this midfield. However, De Jong does take it on, and then a heavy touch back to Gakpo, and we will have 3 minutes of added time.
We haven't had any of the stoppages really, have we? The game's flowed, and I think when they have had that hydration break, we talk about the managers passing messages onto the field of play, and I think it'll be the same at half-time. I don't think either manager will be overly disappointed. I think the game's panned out pretty much how they and we expected it to.
Yeah, throw in for Japan, level with the edge of their own penalty area. Producer Gary has come up with the news that Waxahachie was chosen in the 80s as the site for the superconducting super collider, which was to be the world's largest and most energetic particle accelerator. So it has got a claim to fame.
Cheers, Gary. I'll sleep well tonight knowing that. Thank you.
That'll help.
Completed my life now.
That'll help with the jet lag. Here's Ueda, but the Dutch win it back. Oh, that was a firm challenge on Somerville. It's taken out at the hip by Hiroki Ito. Free kick. And just near the centre circle, no yellow card, play continues. The Dutch thinking here they might get one before half-time. Gakpo back to the edge of the area to Gravenberg, and then Van der Ven gets involved, Marlon as well. They're all in the full-back position. Marlon tries to go around the outside of Doan. Marlon does get the cross in, but that was headed away well by Taniguchi on the edge of his own 6-yard box. Still 0-0 on 5 Live. Almost half-time in this opening match of Group F. The Dutch with Somerville. Somerville just moves infield but quickly closed down again. 2 men on Somerville at the point where you think, well, he might about to cause a danger here. Gakpo likewise, the Japanese have got 2 men on him. Back it goes, middle of the half to Van Dijk. Now De Jong to his right to Van Hecke, way down below us on this side of the field to Dumfries and Somerville. And then Van Hecke does well actually to get away from Nakamura, and then plays it off the shins of the Japanese player, and it's a corner to the Dutch in added time.
Yeah, they're having a lot of possession and a lot of possession in the wide areas. We spoke about Somerville and Gakpo, but what they're doing is they're playing into the Japanese defenders' hands, because with that back five, these 2 wingers, every time they get the ball nearly, they track inside, and they're tracking into bodies where there's congestion, and they found it very easy to defend against.
So corner to the Netherlands. Tijani Reinders to take this. He wears number 4 for Manchester City, doesn't he? Reinders. And he's wearing 14 for the Dutch. Slightly messing with my mind.
Well, he's not going to take 4 of Virgil van Dijk, is he?
It's a good point. That's a very good point. Reinders then, the number 14, takes the corner, and it's headed goalwards, but no power on it from Marlon. It might have got a flick off a defender as well, so Suzuki was just able to take a quick step to his right and actually catch it quite comfortably.
He's not the biggest Marlon, but he has this knack of finding space in the penalty area with intelligent movement in a small space.
Well, there we are. There is the half-time whistle. Netherlands 0, Japan 0, and the players will begin to head off to the dressing rooms and the tunnel. I think that's quite an American football thing, isn't it, to have the tunnel at one end of the stadium? Is it?
They actually have 2, one for the away team and one for the home team.
So there's one in the end to our right, but both sets of players are heading to the right. Anyway, what did you make of it?
I think it was exactly how we expected it to pan out, the way that we previewed the game. We know the way that these two teams play. Holland have dominated the possession, Japan quite happy, very submissive without the ball. They know exactly what they're doing. They look to hit the Dutch on the counter-attack. They lacked quality in the final third when they got into those areas. But for a 0-0 game, it's been a really intriguing watch. It's a tactical battle of two very different styles.
Yeah, on the basis of what we've seen so far, this could easily finish as a draw, but we'll see. The last of the players are just being serenaded off the pitch by the singing Japanese fans at that end of the ground. And here in Texas, Netherlands 0, Japan 0.
John, Wembley had a tunnel behind the goal, didn't it?
It did, of course.
Yeah, behind the sandpit. Mario Melchior.
Across the track.
Mario Melchior, you played there, against Aston Villa in the FA Cup final? You remember that?
Yes, I played against Aston Villa in the final. Of course, how can I forget that final?
Forget the game. We're talking about the tunnel behind the goal, the long walk onto the pitch at Wembley.
Oh my God, there was always like, when you go there, sometimes we're in a trance, but with that moment I woke up because I know we had a long walk. But nothing, I'm gonna tell you something, nothing beat when you get to the Azteca Stadium, that walk all the way down, nothing beats that. I'm telling you right now, when you go to the stadium, be careful with the Azteca Stadium, it's a long walk.
Let's focus on the action in Dallas this evening. Mario, what have you made of your Netherlands in this game? Lacking invention, creativity in places?
Yes, but it was also like a little bit expected. What the key thing is, of course, one of the scoring guys is Gakpo. But Gakpo, his skill is going inside the pitch. But Japan, of course, they prepped on that. They know that they have enough bodies there. So every time you dribble inside, it's packed. There's no striking moment. So that's one of the things. Summerfield comes to pick up the ball and then Dumfries goes over him. So those were the key things. But away from that, I think Malen created one great opportunity for himself. I think the way he struck the ball, and I think Suzuki was really good at the first strike that he had. I think he struck the ball too good, because if it's slightly a little bit to the side, will be tricky for him. And then the header, of course. And then, their own chance. We know what they're going to do. Prior to the game, we spoke to the journalist. He said that they're going to be patient, they're going to wait. And look at the counterattacks. The way they wait for Holland to make a mistake. Holland has to be careful. Because Van Dijk, one time, a wrong ball, and they went right through us.
Paul, they're countering. They've got 30% possession. They've had 30% possession of Japan. We know the way they like to play. Do they need to be a little bit more braver in the final third?
No, I think they'll be quite happy. I think they just lack quality in the final third. They're not a team that create that much, but when they do create, they have to have that clinical element to them, and they haven't had that. They've had one or two really good opportunities. They've had strikes on goal that have hit the side netting, and they should have done better. They've played the game exactly how the manager will have set them up. They've got their opportunities, they've played down the side, they've been patient, and when they've got in the areas, they've just lacked that quality or lacked the finish when they've got themselves into those positions. I think the manager will be really happy, and it's exactly how he would have expected the game to pan out from his game plan.
John, just in regards to the Dutch kit colour, texters into the BBC Sport Live page this evening have likened it to a certain porridge brand available here in the UK.
Is that still going?
Yeah, I think so. I can't remember the last time I bought it, but I think so. It's oatmeal, of course, where you are, isn't it? I mean, I'm thinking, though, more sort of like highlighter, though.
Yeah, highlighter, ready break, glow, that sort of thing. But it's amazing, really, how it is. It even to the naked eye, it does almost seem to glow.
It's a World Cup of colour, though, isn't it? The World Cup always brings colour, vibrancy, passion, support, and but this one more so than ever. It seems to be about colour. The kit manufacturers, the boot manufacturers want us to be that one that stands out in the picture or on social media.
And also the Dutch supporters are so inventive. Mario, you'll know this. The different variety of orange clothes that the Dutch supporters wear, I think, is possibly wider than any other set of supporters. And where on earth you buy an orange suit from, I don't know. Maybe you do know, man.
Yeah, but you know how it works, right? When you come from a small country, we gotta make sure that we are noticeable, because if not, no one sees us. So we're not like the English, you understand? You guys got enough, a big population, big country. We are a much smaller one. So the 80 million that we have, we make sure that you notice us. So that's why we make it as bright as you can go.
Mario,
Yeah, well, they're certainly making an impression in Texas.
Don't let him give it to you. I want to know where you and Paul got those rascal hats from. Those wonderful cowboy hats that producer Gary Flintoff has exposed you with on social media.
Well, I sent the picture to a friend of mine, and I think he used a certain tool called AI and sent the picture back due to the fact of our location.
Yeah, so sorry to disappoint you.
Oh,
there are no real Stetsons.
John,
as yet, but we're here all week.
I was going to say, I hope you're thinking of maybe purchasing one. Gentlemen, back with you for the second half. John Murray and Paul Robinson, where it is Netherlands 0, Japan 0 in World Cup Group F. Of course, earlier on in Group E, Germany beat Curacao 7-1 to open that group up. We will look ahead to Ivory Coast versus Ecuador, and we, of course, will bring you Sweden versus Tunisia in the early hours of Monday morning. But first up here on 5 Live, it's time for the latest BBC News.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
The voice of the FIFA World Cup 2026.
With the headlines, I'm Richard Foster. President Trump has condemned Israel's latest airstrike on Beirut, saying it mustn't be allowed to harm his chances of signing a peace deal with Iran. He's criticised Israel for responding to what he calls a very small and meaningless attack by the Iranian-backed group Hezbollah. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has thanked the UK's armed forces for detaining an oil tanker from Russia's Shadow Fleet in the Channel this morning. Royal Marine Commandos were part of the 6-hour operation to board it. A man's been charged with attempted murder after a 17-year-old girl was stabbed in Briarfield near Burnley. Police say 30-year-old Junaid Nawaz, who's from the area, is due in court tomorrow. The girl's been discharged from hospital. 11 skydivers and a pilot have been killed in a plane crash in Missouri. The aircraft struggled to climb after takeoff and crashed into a field near Butler Memorial Airport, 60 miles south of Kansas City. And the government's going to reduce its electric car sales targets. Current rules mean 80% of all new cars sold in the UK should be electric by 2030, but that's going to be slowed down under pressure from car makers and trade unions.
The 2023 Ballon d'Or France footballer is Lionel Messi.
The winner is Cristiano Ronaldo.
This is the story of the greatest rivalry in the history of sport. A rivalry that split football into two faiths for a generation.
There could be no, Messi and Ronaldo are both great players. There had to be one that was better.
They 100,000,000% pushed each other to the next level. You know, we were the lucky ones who got to see it.
I'm Steve Crossman. This is Sporting Giants, Messi v Ronaldo. Listen first on BBC Sounds.
The FIFA World Cup 2026
with Aaron Paul
on 5 Live Sports.
We will be back in Dallas shortly for the second half of Netherlands versus Japan from Group F. But first up, some other sporting headlines for you this Sunday evening. Ollie Robinson has been ruled out of England's second test with New Zealand due to a sore knee. The bowler only made his comeback in the first test after a 2-year absence from international cricket. In Formula One, Lewis Hamilton claimed his first victory since joining Ferrari after winning the Barcelona-Catalunya Grand Prix.
I started out a dream last year, which seemed almost impossible during my time last year, but we never gave up hope. The team just continued to lift me up, and on top of that, I've got the greatest fan base a sportsman could ever ask for, and so thank you to everybody.
We're hearing huge applause for you, Lewis. That's 106 wins. How does this one rank in those 106? Is it one of your best feeling-wise?
They're all special in their own way, but this one's something else. I watched Ferrari have all that success when I was younger, watching it on TV. And as I've been racing here, I'd always watch the screens and wonder what it would be like to win in that car, and it's come.
George Russell finished second, Lando Norris in third to make it the first all-British podium since 1968. Kimi Antonelli retired from second place with 4 laps to go, with Hamilton now 41 points behind in second. Emma Raducanu has lost the final of Queens in straight sets to Croatia's Donna Vekic. In football, Real Madrid have agreed a fee of more than £47 million to Chelsea defender Marc Cucurella. And in the World Cup of Darts, Luke Littler and Luke Humphreys have won England's sixth title after beating the Dutch pairing of Michael van Gerwen and Gian van Veen 10-5 in today's final in Frankfurt. Of course, more World Cup football on the way tonight. 2 commentaries here on 5 Live. Ivory Coast versus Ecuador to come at midnight, followed by Sweden versus Tunisia at 3 o'clock. Of course, the Football Daily podcast has all the information for you rounded up in a nice to digest chunk with Rick Edwards and Lloyd Griffith. That one available on BBC Sounds, of course, on 5 Live Breakfast in the morning. You'll have all the updates from the evening's games, and you can watch spoiler-free highlights on bbc.co.uk/no spoilers. Joining us now is the brilliant Benny McCarthy, who's part of the team for the Ivory Coast Ecuador game. Benny, how are you?
I'm all good, thank you.
I want to sort of reintroduce someone to you because back in the late 90s, you were in a music group called BMD. Your co-star Mario Melchior is also with us.
No way! Oh my God! I've not seen this dude in a million years, Prof.
Hey, how are you, man? I cannot believe my partner, man. He was my singing partner for life, man. And we changed. We changed for a good situation to become footballers instead of singers.
We saved our lives that way, brother. It would have gone all pear-shaped if we had stayed with the music.
I promise you.
Oh my God!
If Curacao had got a result, we would have got Dean and made up BMD fully and asked you to do a revamp of Midas Touch. But it's nice to have you both on with us, Benny. Great to have you ahead of the game as well. Tell us about the Ivory Coast. MSFA won AFCON back in 2022. This is a man who's brought success to the Ivory Coast, but Ecuador, they are a mean team to play against.
Yeah, I think they both quite similar. The Ivory Coast, they've got so many world beaters, top class players, but they also a very physical side and they can go very direct as well. And so for Ecuador, it's quite the same as well. Very physical, very energetic side. So yeah, it's going to be a good matchup between. See how both are going to go. But I think Ivory Coast has that ability of course, they go in direct football. Very strange for an African team. So it's going to be an interesting matchup, and I'm excited. I can't wait for the game to start because I want to see players like Amad Diallo come to the fore. I want to see Yan Diomande, the player who's exciting so many clubs and so many people. So yeah, I'm just looking forward for that matchup.
How impressive has Nicolas Pepe been? How important is he going to be to this side as well? He said it's probably going to be his last tournament. He doesn't anticipate being with the national team in 4 years' time, but he's had a great season at Villarreal.
Yes, Villarreal, they finished third in La Liga, so a lot of standouts there, and he's had an unbelievable season. But the manager is spoiled for choice. You've got Adingara, who's also done exceptionally well, for Sunderland, so he's also another player you can throw in the mix there. So Ivory Coast, they've got a lot of good choices, but it will be interesting to see what the manager goes for. If he goes with a midfield three of Frankessi, Fofana, and Nottingham Forest Singara, or if he goes with two of them and then he throws an extra attacking player in there. So interested to find out.
Hey, but Benny, you know what I have? If I look at Ecuador, the back line is really impressive. Capinha and Pacho, all at the back. Those are top. That's like great defenders, you understand? And of course, Caicedo in the middle of the park. But those guys, it looks to me like defensively, they are really solid as a team.
Yeah, but Profi, you can also see like they've conceded not a lot of goals in South America, so they're known for having a really solid defense, and rightfully so, and they all under 25, so except for Estupinan. So, but they are a good side, and it will be exciting to see you pair the likes of Diallo and Diomande and the Ivorians attack up against that solid young defense from Ecuador.
Benny, we've got to cut this reunion short. Thank you so much for joining us. Looking forward to catching up with you on television.
See you, brother.
Benny McCarthy, part of our team tonight on BBC One and the iPlayer. You can watch it. Ivory Coast versus Ecuador. Chris Coles and Efana Koku will bring you commentary here on 5 Live of that game from Group E. Mario, we'll catch up with you at full time. Thank you very much for your company. Do you know what, John? I was about to give you a halftime show there, but I understand that there's a long walk being made by the Japan team. On a side note, our colleague Phil McNulty has reported that the stadium announcer in Dallas has assured us that the second half is where the magic happens. So away you go. John Murray and Paul Robinson. Netherlands 0, Japan 0.
We can't dispute that, can we? If we've been told that by our hosts that there will be magic in the second half, then well, strap yourself in and wait to see what is about to unfold. The players are out there on the pitch. The magic is about to begin. Japan are going to kick off. The Dutch team, no changes at the break. So Verbruggen, the goalkeeper, back four of Dumfries, Van Hecker, Van Dijk and Van de Ven as the whistle goes from referee Elfath. And Japan kick off, played all the way back to goalkeeper Suzuki to continue that Japanese team. De Jong as the middleman in the midfield with Gravenberch and Reinders either side of him, and then Somerville on the right, Gakpo on the left and Marlon through the middle. So Memphis Depay, the now veteran Memphis Depay on the bench. Here come the Dutch. Gravenberch with the pass, Somerville on the chase into the penalty area on the right hand side. His ball across is cleared away. Gakpo is arriving, but the defender Taniguchi went with him, was able to just get a flick on it, a sort of glance on it to deflect it away over to the left-hand side. Didn't really see the Dutch do that at all in the first half. Here's Gravenberch just outside the D, onto his left foot, back onto his right, then the quick pass into the penalty area was cleared away. And Gravenberch does well actually to keep possession for the Dutch. Strong start from Ronald Koeman's team.
And that's one of the messages you'd be hoping that he's given them from the dressing room at half-time. Be more direct, but the wide players stay wide. Dumfries now linking up with Somerville, but then the attempted pass from Marlon gave the ball back to Japan. And Kaishu Sano did well actually to take it out, but then overran it out of play for a throw into the Dutch. So that's the Dutch team. Ran through it. The Japanese team for this first match, 9 of this team started against England in March at Wembley when Japan became the first Asian team to beat England. Suzuki the goalkeeper, 3 central defenders, Watanabe, Taniguchi and Hiroki Ito, and then Captain Doan on the right, Keito Nakamura on the left, Sano and Kamada in the middle as the Dutch come forward. And Dumfries' ball all the way across the penalty area. There were bodies in there, but it just flashed through all of them and out of play for a throw into Japan in their own right back position. And then the front 3 for Japan, Takafusa Kubo on the right, Daisen Maeda of Celtic on the left, and Ayase Ueda as the centre forward. Netherlands 0, Japan 0. This is the second World Cup commentary of the day. If you were listening earlier to Chris Sutton and Alistair Bruce Ball, you'll have heard Germany's smashing of Curaçao on their World Cup debut, the smallest country to play in the World Cup finals tournament, and their first match ends in a 7-1 defeat to the Germans with a couple of goals from Kai Havertz, but they shared them around. And of course it went 1-1, didn't it, at one stage? Curaçao did equalise down in Houston, away down in the south of Texas, nearer to the Gulf of Mexico. This massive state, as they occasionally mention, that it is the second biggest American state in terms of area. Netherlands 0, Japan 0. You know what the biggest is, Paul? Have you never think about that? As Japan hit the ball over the halfway line, and it's headed forward. Dumfries plays it forward, and then it's out of play for a throw-in on the halfway line to Japan. So no changes at the break, but I think both coaches will be
relatively pleased with the first half, don't you?
Yeah, but Koeman will think that this is a game that they can actually win because they've had dominant possession in good areas with a few tweaks, i.e. playing wider, more direct and getting the wingers to go on the outside rather than constantly being so predictable and running into traffic. With one or two tactical changes, very minor ones, he will feel that this is a game they could win.
The Dutch played out from the back for Brugge, out to Van Hekke. Now it's Gravenberg. Back to De Jong on the halfway line. De Jong takes a touch, gives it square. Virgil van Dijk, Dutch captain, then trots forward with it with his right foot. He gives it to Gakpo. Gakpo taking on Doan and then plays it past Doan, who did block him. Gakpo knew that he had a chance of that, just flicked the ball past Doan, who then dropped it, threw his body into the front of Gakpo, and it's a free kick.
Clever wing play from Cody Gakpo. He knew exactly what he was doing. He put the ball past Doan. Doan just stood still and Gakpo ran straight into him. Clear foul and a free kick in a good area.
Yeah, and this will be taken by Reinders. Biggest American state.
Is it somewhere slightly colder than here?
It is.
Alaska.
Yes, that's the one. Well done. Did Gary tell you that?
I double-checked with Gary because I didn't want to sound silly. I thought it was, but I didn't want to sound silly, and I just mouthed it round your back.
Well done. Teamwork, that.
And he nodded.
Teamwork, like Japan. Here is Reinders then to take this free kick in the full-back position, the right back area. And it goes, that's poor from Reinders. Doan was able to head it away at the near post, didn't beat the first man. He's trying to whip it in, but I just don't think he got the contact he wanted. Dumfries then plays it in, and it's headed by Van Dijk! And in off the post! And the Dutch have the lead, and it's their captain! It is the indefatigable Virgil van Dijk who scores the Dutch's first goal at this World Cup. Placed the header beyond the dive of Suzuki to his left. Bounced, hit the post, rolled into the back of the Japanese net, and the Netherlands are 1-0 up.
It's a brilliant header from Virgil van Dijk. It's a super execution, it really is. Finds himself in the middle of the 18-yard box and he's still got so much work to do. But it's all because of Dumfries. Dumfries on that right-hand side. He's got acres and acres of space. 15 yards outside the 18-yard box, level with the edge of the 18-yard box. He curls an outswinger to his captain's head. He's just level with a far post and he guides his header. Didn't put too much pace on it, went for accuracy rather than pace. The ball skips off the turf and bends in off the post, bottom left-hand side. It's a really clever header from Virgil van Dijk.
I'm just watching the replay of it. And Virgil van Dijk, he looked a little bit like a snooker player who's played a shot and he's thinking, is it going to catch the shoulder of the pocket and drop in, or is it going to rattle the jaws and stay out? He sort of stood, leaned forward, watched it, and it did hit the post and went in.
It was very, very clever because he didn't try and put too much power on it. There wasn't a lot of pace on the cross that came into him, but the direction and where he placed his header made it so difficult, well, impossible for the goalkeeper. It was a cleverly directed header with the perfect amount of pace and bounce just to take it beyond Suzuki.
And as you say, Paul, the Dumfries cross, that's what it was all about. He put a bit of bend in it, whip, and to the far side of the penalty area, and Van Dijk underneath it. We're just watching Virgil van Dijk on this massive screen, this huge rectangular screen that hangs from the roof of the stadium in front of us. Van Dijk doing one of those poses. He's sort of waggling his hand underneath his chin for some reason, I don't know why. But Virgil van Dijk scoring his 13th goal for the Netherlands in his 93rd appearance. And it is Ronald Koeman's side who have their noses in front.
Well, that's interesting now. That's opened this game up because we talk about Japan's game plan and the way that they play with a 5 at the back, allow pressure and trying to play on the counter-attack. Now, if they want to get anything from this game, they're going to have to play more expansive. But I don't think they will as yet. I think their game plan will be to sit as they have done, play the same way, and as the game goes deeper and they know they have to chase it, that's when they might expose themselves slightly more.
So 1-0 to Ronald Koeman's team. Ronald Koeman, the 63-year-old Ronald Koeman now. He's still got that strawberry blonde hair of his, but he came stepping forward with his fists clenched after he saw his captain, probably 14 yards, I think, given the angle that it was out. The header from Van Dijk across the goalkeeper and, as I say, in off the post to make it 1-0 to the team currently ranked 8th in the world. Van Hekke with the pass through, but that's gone all the way through to goalkeeper Suzuki. So Japan, who've lost just once in their last 13 internationals, And they've had some significant scalps in that time. The only defeat in that run was actually here in the United States, in Ohio, when they played the USA in a friendly in September. So they've not lost an international match since September. But they lose possession, playing it forward, and the Dutch here with Gravenberch. But across comes Watanabe to put it out of play, and the Dutch are continuing to keep the pressure on Japan.
Steps in really well there, Virgil van Dijk. Japan looking to counter-attack quickly. Van Dijk steps in, reads the pass, gets it into Gakpo. Nothing came of it in the end, but a really good reading of the play.
It's a great shot. If you get to see that, if you go on the BBC website and see the highlights, the way that Van Dijk, the camera captures Van Dijk's eyes following the trajectory of the ball, as I say, willing it to bounce up, hit the post and go in. It's a great shot, that. I hope the photographers have got that as a photograph. That'll look great as a picture. Netherlands 1-0 up on Japan. 10 minutes gone in the second half. So the Dutch supporters, the Oranje, are in very good voice inside the stadium. We reckon there's about 10,000 of them here. Their double-decker bus, their famous double-decker bus, the Orange bus, arrived in Texas in the first half of May and started making its way, so the atmosphere has been building since then. But you cannot miss them around wherever you are in Texas, the Dutch supporters. And Van Dijk, the man who started the Dutch songs, playing the ball to De Jong in the centre circle, now out to the right-hand side, and Dumfries will give it back to Van Hekken. And the Brighton central defender picks out Dumfries again. Run from Somerville. Dumfries' pass over the top for Somerville. Good pace. Pulls it across to the near post. Marlon was there. But also he was tracked by Taniguchi, who was able to get there first. I thought that was going to be a corner. But actually, did Somerville run it out of play, do you think?
Not sure, but it was a super piece of defending from Taniguchi. It was an excellent ball over the top from Dumfries into the path of Somerville. It did look like the ball was going to skip out, but Somerville's pace, he got him there first, played the cross, and it was a really good piece of defending.
And it is a goal kick to Japan. And on our little screen here, we're just seeing the replay from the ref cam, which I quite like the ref cam. Ball played forward for Japan to chase, but Gravenberch got there first, gave it to Verbruggen, who was under pressure from Ueda inside the 6-yard box, and so could only turn and put it out of play on the far side.
Well, that's clever from the goalkeeper. I don't mind that. Far too often do we see goalkeepers trying to get out of that situation. He just went, I'm stuck, I'm kicking the ball out of play.
Nice turn from Kubo. Now, across comes the ball from Nakamura, but the Dutch able to clear it, and it's out for a throw-in to Japan. Actually, we should correct, it was Gravenberch who put the crossover for the goal, not Dumfries. So it's Gravenberch who should get the praise for that, as Japan play the ball back towards the edge of the penalty area. Right-footed shots deflected in! Nakamura with the equaliser! And now Japan can celebrate their first goal at this World Cup. Shot through a crowd of players, edge of the penalty area from the left wing back, and it found its way low past Verbruggen, and it's Netherlands 1, Japan 1, and the Dutch lead didn't last long.
Frailties at the back exposed once again. It was good play from Japan, and it was a deflection that took the ball past Bart Verbruggen in the Holland goal. Good piece of play on the left hand side. Just having a quick check for offside with the VAR, but it wasn't. They really well worked the ball into the box. It comes back to Nakamura on the edge of the box. He finds himself time and space. He's not closed down quick enough, and he's given the opportunity to get the shot away. Takes a wicked deflection in front of the goalkeeper, which doesn't help him. Not that much pace on the shot. Dutch are actually claiming that might have come off Maeda in front of the goalkeeper. Just getting to see it again, but I think it's Van Hekker, isn't it? Van Hekker. It's a shot from the edge of the box from Nakamura. It's found the back of the net, and I think it's going to count.
And Maeda was standing beyond Van Hekker, wasn't he? And the question would have been, if that had flicked Maeda rather than Van Hekker, and he did well actually, Maeda did well to skip out of the way of the shot, and it did come off the Brighton defender's ankle, that was the crucial deflection that took it past Verbruggen.
And I think some of the Dutch players were claiming that, as you say, he was in front of the goalkeeper, in front of his eye line, but we've just seen the replay from behind the goal. Verbruggen gets a clear sight of it, he gets a dive away, he's out of position because he's trying to look round his own defender, Van Hecke, who the ball actually comes off.
So 1-1 now, and the Dutch have got themselves a long throw that Dumfries is going to take. Long throw from Dumfries into the Japanese box, which is headed down, doesn't clear the penalty area. Back to Dumfries, but then the goal scorer, the most popular man in Japan right now, Keito Nakamura, is able to get there first and put it out of play. The Japanese number 13, he's the man who plays for Reims in the second division in France, and that is his 11th goal for Japan in his 27th appearance. Throw in that the referee is going to ask to be taken again. The whistle went just as Dumfries was throwing it in, and the referee has gone across and spoken to possibly Van de Ven. So it was Van de Ven, was it? Yeah, who he spoke to. And still we've not seen this throw from Dumfries. 10 yards back from the corner flag, and they are under pressure now to take these throw-ins quickly.
He's not happy, the referee. It's Taniguchi and Van de Ven at the near post.
In comes the throw. Nakamura heads it away for Japan. It's 1-1 if you've just switched onto us here on 5 Live. Headed forward into the Japanese penalty area. Van Dijk challenging for it. He's saying the final touch was off the Japanese defender, and the referee agrees. Corner to the Dutch.
Yeah, good play from Van Dijk. He was up there from the earlier set play, from the short, long throw-in, if you like, that didn't come off. The big defender had stayed up there. The ball looked like it was going to run out of play, but he battled hard to get the deflection, and he's won his side another corner on that far side. Big central defenders have still stayed up there. Van de Ven causing a problem.
Yeah. So the Dutch corner, right-sided corner. So it's an outswinger taken by Reinders. Just raises his left arm, the Manchester City man, and then plays it into the near post. Van Hecke trying to get there, but could only head it down and headed it to Japan. And now the ball is passed forward, and Japan are off on the counter-attack here. Great excitement in the stands for the Japanese supporters. And as it was cut back by Watanabe, the chasing Somerville flicked his ankles, and that's a yellow card for Crescencio Somerville of West Ham.
They were 4-on-4. They were away there. This game's panning out now because the Dutch are disappointed that they've conceded their lead. They're trying to get that goal back, and they're leaving themselves exposed, and it played right into Japan's hands. That time it was Watanabe, the central defender, found himself so high up the field, and they were 4-on-4. It was a very important foul for Somerville to make because they were left very, very undermanned at the back. Free kick not too far away from goal, but not in an area where you would think would be a real threat. A clever foul from Somerville.
The Dutch lead lasted for 6 minutes, incidentally, before Nakamura equalised. So if that was Gravenberch's cross for the Van Dijk goal, that's double Liverpool that led to that opening goal for the Dutch. But Nakamura makes it 1-1. Now they've got a free kick, Japan, and left-footed ball played into the penalty area by Sano, headed out to Nakamura. Nakamura's ball is blocked on the edge of the box, and then it comes back towards the halfway line, where Daichi Kamada of Crystal Palace was able to pass the ball, but behind Nakamura, he's able to gather it, play it into the box. Maeda with a chip across goal, which I think took a little deflection on its way across the penalty area, and then a foul by Kubo concedes a free kick for the Dutch in the left-back area.
Yeah, they're working the ball really nicely now all of a sudden in the final third. The Japanese team criticised them at the end of the first half for the lack of quality and lack of end product, but it's starting to come together for them.
Just mentioned the fact that Gravenberch crossing for Van Dijk to score. Opta have posted this, which is a great line. It's only the second time a World Cup goal has been scored and assisted by a Liverpool player. The other one was in 1966, where Ian Callaghan assisted Roger Hunt for an England goal against France. That's amazing, isn't it? Well done whoever found that in the record books. I thought nobody collated assists before a certain time. They obviously did. Of course, in those days, people used to say the goal was set up.
That's right,
yeah. Not assisted.
Was that before the days of the Premier League, when football did exist?
It probably was. Netherlands 1, Japan 1. Van Hecke. It's 1-1 here in Texas. And that's well done by Gravenberch. Gravenberch wriggling and then giving it back to Somerville. Left foot shot from Somerville. He's found the corner. It's 2-1 to the Dutch. Pinpoint finish from Crescencio Somerville across the dive of Suzuki, right inside the far bottom corner of the post, and the Dutch are back in front 2-1 against Japan.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant from Crescencio Somerville. Grade A piece of wing play, it really was. But once again, it was Gravenberch that was at the heart of everything. He wins the possession back. He's got the time and space in the middle of the field, and he gives the ball to Crescencio Somerville right on the tip, on the corner of the 18-yard box. He's still got so much to do. Once again, he takes it inside. It's a good touch with his right foot, and it opens up for him on the left foot. And this time, it's the other post of Suzuki that the ball kisses and ends up in the back of the net. It's an in-swinging left foot, evades the two Japanese defenders, kisses the far post and enters the back of the net. A brilliant goal from Crescencio Somerville.
And he came racing over to the dugout, didn't he, as well? Even though he scored it on the far side of the penalty area as we look, he made a beeline for the dugouts for Koeman.
John, that's a great finish, it really is. We're watching it again. He's threaded it between two Japanese defenders, out the reach of the goalkeeper and just inside the post. Ball speed 103 kilometres an hour, 21 metres on the angle. Brilliant finish. I only know that it's on that big screen.
Yeah, there's ball speed, 103 kilometres per hour. Didn't feel like it was particularly strongly hit.
No, it had to have pace to beat the goalkeeper, didn't it, from that type of angle? Yeah. Both of the Dutch goals, the precision of the header and the precision of that finish, just inside of either post. Really good finishes, both of them, in different ways.
That was 103, wasn't it? 103,
yeah.
What do you think the fastest speed a goal will be hit at this World Cup? Is that going to be a lot more than that?
I would say so, yeah. Because that didn't look like it took the net off, did it? No. As you say, it was kind of guile and craft. It was a good finish. It will have had some pace on it.
And as you said, Paul, I think that the Japanese coach, Hajime Moriyasu, will probably say, we've conceded goals, but both gone in off the posts. And now here's Gakpo, the Dutch looking for a third, still going, he's beaten down, and then more defenders arrive from all quarters, diving in front of the attempted shot, which was blocked behind. And in the end came back onto Gakpo and through for a goal kick.
Brilliant piece of defending there from Ito. Cody Gakpo does extremely well again. Finding holes now, the Dutch team, down this left-hand side. Actually, the flag's just gone up for offside, so he would have been offside. It was a good piece of play for him, and that's, again, one of my most frustrating things. He's on this left-hand side, near the near touchline. He's looking all the way across the line of the Japanese defenders. A player of his level and experience should not be offside in that situation. He was a good 2 or 3 yards offside. Now we're getting a chance to look at it. So, as well as he did, and as well as the block was from the Japanese defender, Ito, if anything had come of it, it wouldn't have counted, because Gakpo, amateur offside.
Netherlands 2, Japan 1. And that goal from Somerville, I mentioned in the first half how Somerville playing here for the Dutch on the right as Japan come forward, and a flying shot from Kubo. That was probably 30 yards, certainly between 25 and 30 yards out, with his left foot, went for goal, and it flashed away over the top of the crossbar. And the Japanese have made their first change. Maeda has been substituted. Well, he has been quiet in the second half, Maeda, Paul. And the number 14, the other Ito, Junya Ito, who plays in Belgium for Genk, has come on into the... he's an attacking player. He can play in the wing, or he can play as a forward. And it is now time for the hydration break. So on American televisions everywhere, across all of the states, the adverts will be on now. But that's been an entertaining third quarter, Paul.
I think we need to start listening to our friends in the States who are stadium announcers, because the magic clearly does happen in the second half, doesn't it? You get the goals, you get the action, and it's certainly been a more entertaining watch. Just in the first half was good. It was 0-0 at half-time, but it was a good game. We saw two teams and the styles exactly how we expected. But said that about Ronald Koeman at half-time. He would have had a feeling, I got a feeling from up here, that the Dutch just had the edge if they just did a little bit more. It was little tweaks in the final third. Somerville going around the outside at times, being a little bit more precise with crosses into the box from the right areas, not being so predictable in attack like they were in the first half. And they've done exactly that, and they've had the better of the second half.
Netherlands 2, Japan 1, and that's been a very entertaining first 22 and a half minutes of the first half, with Van Dijk heading the Netherlands in front, Keito Nakamura with a deflected shot that made it 1-1, and then Crescencio Somerville with that very good finish. And I mentioned, Paul, in the first half about Somerville this season when I saw him for West Ham, invariably playing on the left-hand side. But with his left foot playing on the right has come up with the goods for the Dutch.
Yeah, what is it? I think it's only his third cap or something, isn't it? I think he's not got too many caps.
Cap, yep.
And he says he's only got 7 goals for West Ham this season. He played at the struggling West Ham side, but there was a lot of quality. I mean, West Ham saw something when they took him from Leeds. They paid a good price for him, and he's a player that can do that. And I think he's a player, with no disrespect to anybody that he played with at West Ham, but when he plays in a good team and he plays in a system like this that suits him, you can see that he becomes a better player almost. And it was a wonderful goal.
I think it was Ruud van Nistelrooy, you know, that he ran to.
It was, yeah, off the bench.
And so he sprinted across, and it is his first international goal for the Netherlands senior team, so that's not a bad way to get off the mark, to score in a match at the World Cup finals, and jumping into the arms of Ruud van Nistelrooy, who presumably has been working with him, you would say.
You would say that was extra work after training, wasn't it? That was staying after training and doing a little bit more work with somebody who certainly knows how to score a goal or two.
Going to see a couple of Dutch changes now. Ronald Koeman is taking the opportunity. Memphis Depay is going to come on, and Daniel Marlon is off, so that would look like a straight swap. Also waiting to come on, the Juventus midfielder Toyn Koopmeiners, and actually they're now showing all of the names on the big screen in front of us. And also Quentin Timber is going to come on for the Dutch, the brother of Jurien, the twin brother of Jurien Timber, who sadly the Arsenal defender has had to leave the squad, was ruled out through injury, and his twin brother Quinton is going to come on to win his 12th cap. So Reinders, Somerville and Marlon coming off. So a triple change from Ronald Koeman, even though they've just gone 2-1 up, making that change now at the mid-half break.
It's a shame for Timber, isn't it? His brother not being here. It's been quite an achievement for the family, for two of them to be on the same pitch in a World Cup. But actually there's 8 sets of siblings at this World Cup, isn't there? 8 sets of siblings throughout the whole World Cup.
It's incredible, isn't it, when you think that...
Well, sorry, 7 now, because one's gone home.
That's right. But to think that, particularly I think twin brothers, 2 twin brothers, can end up, for all of those millions that Mario Melchior was talking about, you know, the population of the Netherlands, 2 twin brothers are both in the national team's World Cup squad. It's amazing, isn't it? As the ball is won back by the Dutch, and they will come forward. And left-footed ball across from the newly arrived Koopmeiners, but the Japanese are able to smuggle it back and then play it forward. And here is Doan on the right, and Japan will go back to the edge of their box. Of course, two English brothers ended up winning the World Cup together, the Charltons. And we've got a stoppage because Kubo is down, so we might have another little break here.
Strong challenge from Dumfries, it was over on the far side. I don't think there's anything wrong with the challenge. He's up on his feet again, Kubo. He's just holding his left knee. He's giving the thumbs up to the referee, but the referee's just ushering him over that far touchline. Time's ticking away for the Japanese, but they found an answer quickly last time. They're going to have to do it again.
Memphis Depay on the field. That was the debate, whether it would be Marlon or Depay starting, but Marlon's gone off. He had a couple of chances in the first half. But Memphis Depay, 32 years old now, the former... I mean, what a run of clubs he had. PSV, Manchester United, Lyon, Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, now playing in Brazil for Corinthians in Sao Paulo. And this is his 110th cap.
And when you think of all the players that the Dutch have had over the years, the Van Bastens, the Hullets, you know, all the top players that they've had, he's their top scorer now, isn't he? I think he took over Van Persie, didn't he?
That's right, yeah. He's Depay scored 55 goals for the Dutch. Here's Gakpo for the Netherlands, into the penalty area, on his right foot, goes for goal, Suzuki. It might have been sneaking in at his near post bottom corner, but he got a hand down to push it round corner.
That's a good save, really good save from Suzuki, because what he didn't do, he didn't get dragged into the middle of his goal. Gakpo once again coming off this left-hand touchline, but this time nearer the byline. He runs into the middle of the 18-yard box and he gets his shot away. Goalkeeper doesn't try and read him, he stays in a good position, he fires it hard and low at the near post, and it's a good, strong, solid hand from Suzuki.
Corner is going to be taken by Depay, actually. Memphis Depay deep to the back post, and a header from Van Hecke, but straight at Suzuki. didn't get any power on it. It was a comfortable catch, just dropped into his gloves.
Yeah, very comfortable for the goalkeeper. I mean, they've not been too inventive with the set plays this evening, the Dutch. Once again, it's just a ball played into the box, into an area, a lack of movement, but they've got real height in that back four. When you look at Dumfries, Van Hecke, Van Dijk, Mickey van der Ven, obviously Gravenberch as well, there should be a real attacking threat. But we talk about set plays week in and week out. A good set play is nothing. They can have as much movement and jostling in the box as you want, but you need the delivery.
So Netherlands 2, Japan 1. BBC Radio 5 live from Texas, the Lone Star State in the north of this vast, sprawling state. If you head south from here, the first place you come to is actually Mexico, but that's nearly a 10-hour drive to get to Mexico. Japan coming forward into the penalty area. Well, that was a sturdy covering challenge that came in from Van der Ven, just as Watanabe was looking to pull it across the penalty area. It's a corner, he's put it behind for a corner, but he came in at pace.
No, he does nothing else, Van der Ven. Quite often he gets caught out of position, but his pace gets him out of it, and when you're arriving at that type of pace and there's contact made, it's going to look like a tough challenge. That's a really good piece of defending from Van der Ven. Caught out of position, gets himself back goal side, and he has to make the tackle, and it's in an area that if he'd have mistimed it, it would have been a penalty. Very good piece of defending from Van der Ven.
More changes for Japan. They're about to take a corner, but Watanabe is coming off. So the former Southampton defender Yukinari Sugawara is trotting onto the pitch, the number 2, and we will see this Japanese corner to be taken from the right by Junya Ito, the substitute Junya Ito. It's a deep one over everyone, but it does actually bounce to Nakamura, who tries to half volley it back goalwards, but got underneath it, sort of lifted it up, and it just flew away above the heads of everyone and beyond.
Yeah, they've taken control of the game, the Dutch team now. They got that scare after scoring the goal so quickly, conceding at the other end. Unfortunately with the direction, but they've settled now. They've got themselves back in front, and they do look in control once again.
Yeah, they've also substituted Takefusa Kubo, and the captain for the start of the game, Ritsu Doan, has gone off. So that's the whole of the right flank has been replaced as the Dutch come forward, ball into the penalty area, and just runs away from Koopmeiners and through to goalkeeper Suzuki. So also coming on, the number 19 Koki Ogawa, who's another who plays in the Netherlands for NEC Nijmegen, who did well, finished high up the league, 3rd place in the Eredivisie this season. Van Dijk near the edge of his penalty area, 2-1 the Netherlands lead, and then Gravenberch is challenged. I thought that might have been a foul. The referee was right there, says it wasn't, and so Japan with going back towards the halfway line. And Sano, Gaisho Sano, who's also come onto the field, the number 24 into the midfield. He's the other player who came on. The ball in centre field for Japan, middle of the Dutch half. Then Taniguchi through to the edge of the box. It's turned out towards the right hand side. Here's Sugawara has a look, but he's got 2 Dutch defenders in front of him, so we'll play the ball out, and it's Junya Ito now who swings it in, but that's no threat, no danger. It actually bounces all the way over to the other fullback position, where it is blocked out of play for a throw-in by Dumfries, throw-in to Japan.
Yeah, it's more of a back 3 now from Japan, where you see them obviously playing with a back 5. The shape's not really changed, more attacking threats. They're trying to play higher up the field, but it's a back 3, and the wing-backs have pushed up to make the 5, 6 across midfield, trying to outpower the Dutch in that midfield area and win the ball back.
So a tactical change by the coach Moriyasu, as Sugawara swings a ball across, headed goalwards, a sort of twisting header by Koki Ogawa that took it out into the full-back position. It certainly didn't threaten the goal. Here's another cross for Japan into the penalty area. Verbruggen stays in his 6-yard box, and Van der Ven is able to watch the bouncing ball and just nod it down and out of play for a throw to Japan on the right, who are having a good spell here.
Yeah, this isn't the stage of the game where the Dutch are going to want to sit back, and you know there's too long to go to see a game out. if you are going to win a game at this type of level, there are going to be times in the game where you're going to have to suffer. We hear managers talking about their teams suffering and how they cope under pressure. Good teams who go on to win things and go deep in tournaments will see spells out like this.
Japan again. Ball to the edge of the penalty area, but the Dutch are able to scrape it away. Well, time's beginning to run out. We're in the 79th minute now, Paul. Japan have got to go for it, really. Remember, Sweden and Tunisia, the other two teams in this group. That's the commentary that's coming up in the middle of the night. Sweden, Tunisia from 3 a.m. Next, at midnight UK time, the match that's being played in Philadelphia between Ivory Coast and Ecuador. So that's the same group as Germany, Curacao earlier that we brought to you live from Houston. But Chris Coles and Efan Ekoku will be commentating on that one from our studios in Salford. But also Ivory Coast Ecuador is a BBC TV match, so you can watch that on BBC TV. Netherlands 2, Japan 1 as the ball is deflected out for a throw near the halfway line.
Just watching the Dutch now, they've made the changes, and Frankie de Jong, he's almost sitting alongside Van Dijk and Van Hecke. They're in a back five. He's now over this left-hand side pushing Nicky van der Ven out. He's sat really deep in front of the back four most of the game, but now they're ahead. He's almost part of that back five.
Here's Junior Ito, angles it back, chance, and the shot was weak. Actually, the cutback made it tricky, really tricky for the shot. So when it eventually came in from, what was that, probably 14 yards or so from Sugawara, he couldn't get any power on it, and it was straight for Verbruggen, who was able to save it quite comfortably.
They were in a good position again, but again in the final third, Junior Ito, substitute who's just come on in, it was a cutback, and he cut it back just behind him, so he couldn't really get a clean strike. He was almost trying to drag the ball from behind him, ended up with no power and straight at the goalkeeper.
Netherlands 2, Japan 1, BBC Radio 5 Live. Japan come again. It's worked here to the right-hand side. Tomiyasu. Then he gets it back. Tomiyasu's ball into the penalty area. Van Hecke was tight there. Well defended, and the ball just dribbled through to Verbruggen, who was able to pick it up after his challenge on Ogawa. Verbruggen gets the ball down, long and over the halfway line for him, and in fact all the way out for a throw-in. See, Ronald Koeman's going to make another change down there, and it is going to be Nathan Ake who is going to come on to replace Gravenberch, who was involved in both goals. So much debate during the course of the season about Gravenberch really not hitting the heights for Liverpool this season that he did the title-winning season before. The 24-year-old, but he's had an impact on this match.
Yeah, and there is the tactical change. That's Frankie de Jong now being pushed back into midfield, and they are a back five now. The Dutch, a clear back five. They're not three central defenders and two wing-backs pushing on. They've got Van der Ven, Ake, Van Dijk, Van Hecke and Dumfries all in a line. They're into the last 10 minutes. He's looking to close this out now, Ronald Koeman. He believes they can hold on to what they've got.
Netherlands 2, Japan 1. Still in the early days of this World Cup. We'll be all over it across all of the BBC platforms. Search Football Daily on BBC Sounds for all sorts of additional coverage. And as well, from tomorrow we've got Breakfast in America during the first fortnight of this World Cup, coming live from New York or Boston between 1 and 3 in the afternoon every day, with either Mark Chapman or Steve Crossman. I know in New York, in Manhattan, we've got a cafe identified. That's where we're going to be broadcasting from for that. And Mr. Mark Chapman himself will be in Boston with us at some point over the course of the next fortnight. So that is between 1 and 3 every afternoon on 5 Live. And listen to all of the commentaries with the BBC Sounds app, or just ask your smart speaker to play 5 Live. 69,285 is the figure displayed on the massive screen. I think they're possibly the biggest numerals I've ever seen in my life. 69,285, big in white with a blue background. Japan coming forward. We're entering the closing stages now. We've got 7 minutes to play. High challenge. And high challenge by Memphis Depay. Middle of the Japanese half. That's going to be a yellow card for the substitute. Free kick to Japan, who are building a bit of momentum here.
Yeah, he just tried to break up the play there. Memphis Depay knew exactly what he's doing. Taniguchi was getting there first. Dutch are quite deep, struggling to get out. He's trying to be that centre forward that holds the ball up. I think he did it too much with his elbow.
Another Japanese change. So off is coming Ueda, Ayase Ueda, who not been able to get off the mark at the World Cup, and replaced. It's a straight swap. The Wolfsburg striker, the number 26, Kento Siogai, is coming on to replace him. Free kick to Japan. In it goes into the penalty area, headed down and away for the Dutch on the edge of their own box as they defend that penalty area down there to our right. De Jong as well finds Memphis Depay. Then back to Jeong. That's a firm challenge as well, coming in from Takahiro Tomiyasu, the Ajax defender, the former Arsenal man. Foul, free kick to the Dutch. And the finishing line is within sight for Ronald Koeman and his team for an opening victory, but still work to do. And actually he's going to make another change as well. Substitutes keep coming here, and Brian Brobby of Sunderland is coming on after his 7 goals for Sunderland this season, and on he comes for Cody Gakpo. Brian Brobby. 3 Sunderland players in this squad, with Hertruda arriving to replace Jurien Timber. So Brobby comes on for his 13th cap, and Van Hecker clearing the ball away, and then it's swiped up in the air and out of play for a throw-in to the Netherlands near the halfway line.
Brobby's a player that I've watched numerous times this season, covered Sunderland games. I mean, it's funny to say about a striker, he does lack goals, but he's a really good old-fashioned striker. He's a real handful, and at this stage of a game I think he'll be a real important player for Koeman to bring on, because he's a handful. He'll occupy central defenders, and when you want the ball holding up, like exactly what he's doing now, he's that type of player that will put his body in and he'll run.
He's a real muscular.
He's a unit. He's an absolute unit, isn't he?
He's a bustler, isn't he? He'll put himself about. His glowing orange socks are down. He looks as though he's already played 120 minutes actually, as he runs back towards the halfway line, and he's almost bursting out of that orange kit. Here is Japan trying to come up with this equaliser. Japan with the ball on the left-hand side. In it comes, cleared away by De Jong, comes back out to the blue shirts of Japan centre field, and now work forward. Nakamura with a cross all the way across. Junior Ito on the right-hand side, his cross, that's headed away by Van Dijk, cleared the penalty area. Got there first, the Dutch captain, the man who opened the scoring tonight. Van Dijk for Netherlands, Nakamura equalised for Japan. But at the moment, it's that Crescencio Somerville goal that's winning it for Ronald Koeman's team.
Done well again there, Nakamura. He's been a real threat. He's got the goal. He bursts down that left-hand side and he flashes the ball across the 6-yard box, but there's nobody there. He's the type of player that you want on the end of that type of cross. Really good, intelligent play.
Tomiyasu, he's now been fouled by Koopmeiners. It's another free kick to Japan. They're getting lots of set pieces here, but for Bruggen, really, apart from the goal that he conceded from the deflected shot, they've not really tested him. Here's the free kick. Junior Ito to take this in. That's headed away by Brobby for the Dutch. Comes out to Nakamura, and he gives it to his left, where Nakamura receives it back, middle of the half. Right-footed ball played in, stretching header away by Van de Ven. We're in the 87th minute now. The Dutch on course for an opening 3 points here. But Junior Ito's ball into the penalty area, nicely worked, and the challenge had to come in on Daichi Kamada to block it behind for another corner to the Japanese.
I think they've got to do more than just throw hopeful balls into the box, because when you look at this Dutch back line, you look at the size of them, you know, they're going to dominate, and it's meat and drink to them, it's food and drink. They're going to defend it very, very easily. They've got to be more creative in and around that penalty area.
Almost everyone on their feet now as Japan have this corner. Poor delivery from Junior Ito, headed away quite easily by Frankie de Jong. Just when I was watching Junior Ito take that corner, my eye was caught by, there's a group of Dutch fans down there in the corner, who are wearing orange Stetsons. Of course they are. They've brought their orange Stetsons. We've seen them at all of the tournaments, but never have they been more appropriate than here. Junior Ito into the penalty area, but then the challengers arrive. 2 Dutch players arrive, and it's blocked away, and behind it was Dumfries, who came across. Actually, it's another corner.
Got caught out of position there, the Dumfries, but once again he's got the pace, the ability to get out of a situation. Concedes another corner, but they need better delivery, Japan.
Yeah, well, he's got another chance, Junior Ito, to deliver this in from the right-hand side. It's towards the penalty spot, it's deflected, it's in! It's 2-2! And Koki Agawa, the substitute, got up in amongst a crowd of players and got enough power on it to head it into the top corner beyond Verbruggen's dive to his left. And twice now Japan have come from behind to equalise. Netherlands 2, Japan 2.
It's a brilliant header. What a way to finish a brilliant game. Out-swinging corner. The delivery's not been right for Japan. The delivery's been poor. They haven't missed the front man. This time they do. And it's actually behind him, and I think it takes a deflection which eludes Verbruggen. I think he would have got there, the Dutch goalkeeper. He's diving to his left, but the deflection is just taking it up and over his hands. It's a powerful header, and I think it's come off one of his own players.
I think it's Kamada.
It looks like one of his own players.
I think it's Daichi Kamada.
But they don't care. They're not even having a conversation down there.
So that's going to be Kamada's goal. Yes, it is. It's Kamada's goal. He's got the captain's arm back. He knew nothing about it. Hit him on the head.
The substitute just powered a header goalwards, and he was, 2 yards away from him, and he's just powered it at Kamada. And it's come off the top of his head, and that's what's beaten Bart Verbruggen, because at first glance it looked poor from the goalkeeper. It hit both of his hands and ended up in the back of the net, and you thought, he's got to save that. But then you see how much of a deflection it was. The ball was headed at Kamada from close range with real pace. I don't even think he was looking at the ball. Hit the top of his head and went up and over the goalkeeper. And they've done it again, Japan. They've stuck to their task, they've battled, they've worked hard, and they've found a way to get back into this game. What a cracking game it's been.
Yeah, so Daichi Kamada of Crystal Palace will get that goal. Not that he knew a great deal about it. To mark his 50th cap, incidentally, as well, having scored precisely 1 goal all season for Crystal Palace. Here he is at the World Cup, and the Japanese supporters in the stands are bouncing up and down with their white flags with the red circle in it, the famous flag of Japan. And that goal coming in the 89th minute. We've got 6 of added time to play as Junior Ito is blatantly pulled back by Mickey van der Ven. That should be a yellow card, shouldn't it? Although he hasn't pulled it out of his pocket yet, but surely, yes, he has got it there. So a yellow card for Van der Ven for that. Disappointing for the Dutch to concede twice.
They've controlled large parts, majority of this game. But when we actually preview a game and we look at teams and we predict how they're going to play, I don't think we could have got it more right today than we did before this game, saying how this would pan out. And the way that the Japanese are so patient, they stick to a game plan, they stick to the way that they play, and once again it's worked for them again, and they're going to blood the nose of another big nation.
Yeah, and that run, well, it'll be 1 defeat in the last 13 internationals, not lost since last September. Mind you, we've got time yet for a winner, and it might be Japan who provide it. Here is Junior Ito. He did get the corner right as well, by the way, didn't he? As you were saying, the delivery with that one that led to the goal, ball in centre field, and in the end Japan are able to play it all the way back to goalkeeper Suzuki. So Netherlands twice in front, Japan twice equalising.
Japan are one of them teams that we say they could beat anybody on their day. Yeah. Because they're so hard to beat and difficult to play against, defensively very good, but also at times offer an attacking threat.
Ball played forward for Japan, but Verbruggen is going to get there first, which he does, racing out of his 6-yard box to the edge of the area. In fact, Paul, I think we said that at Wembley in March when we saw them beat England in the way that they did, which was that was the sort of 35-man squad window for England, wasn't it? So it was a bit of a strange couple of matches. But at that stage, Japan looked ready for the World Cup.
They were preparing, you could see clearly, whereas Thomas Tuchel picked that 35-man squad and still had a lot of decisions to make on personnel and that style that he was going to play, whereas Japan have been preparing for this from a long time out, and you can see the organisation.
Still 2 more World Cup matches to come today. Ivory Coast against Ecuador in the Germany-Curacao group, and then Sweden-Tunisia in this group. And if either Sweden or Tunisia can get off to a winning start, they'll be a bit like Scotland last night, top of the table. In comes the cross for the Dutch to the back post, which Koopmeiners, in between two Japanese defenders, got his head to, but could only head it all the way through for a goal kick. So 2-2 it is. Netherlands 2, Japan 2. After a busy sporting day, you'll find all of the details of the Catalonia Grand Prix. The Checkered Flag podcast should be on BBC Sounds now. An eventful race. So that on BBC Sounds, wrapping it all up with all of the reaction. And back home, the Women's T20 World Cup continues. Lots of commentary on that on BBC Sounds as well over the coming weeks. Here's Nathan Ake, having come on as a substitute. Frankie de Jong. We're in the 4th minute of 6 of added time. Now, after all of that Japanese pressure leading to the equaliser, it's the Dutch with Brobby crossing, but too close to goalkeeper Suzuki, who's able to allow the ball to bounce in front of him and up into his chest, and then Suzuki launches one down. Launched it out off the pitch.
That was rugby union.
Who was?
He was kicking for touch.
Halfway up the lowest section of the stand.
There was absolutely not one Japanese player that was out of his own defensive third, and the goalkeeper there, he just took aim at the stand and kicked for touch, launched it.
In front of almost 70,000 people inside this amazing futuristic stadium. This is where England will play on Wednesday night. We'll be here, the two of us, to commentate on England, Croatia, Wednesday night, 9 o'clock UK time. And there's going to be more. We're going to talk about England after the end of this match. The message that Gareth Southgate has put out today. So there's more on that to come shortly. But we've got the final minutes of this opening match in Group F to describe to you. The all-orange kit of the Dutch, moving over the halfway line with Nathan Ake. He gives it to Virgil van Dijk, who scored the first of the 4 goals that we've seen in the second half. I did tell you at half-time I thought it would be better. I like the man on the tannoy.
Magic, you said.
Magic.
He wasn't wrong.
Magic in the second half. Here's Ake. Nathan Ake with all that hair of his tied up. He's actually got it's a sort of orange hair tie that he's got, can you see? Now to the right-hand side, Dumfries. They burst into the penalty area. The attempted cutback, that was cleared away, bounces down, and then it comes off Dumfries. Doesn't clear the Japanese defensive third. And then Van Hecke gets there first and gives it back to Verbruggen. We are in the final minute of added time now. If the Dutch are going to score a third goal now, that would surely be the winner. Clipped into the penalty area by de Jong. Japan struggling just to get it away. Van Hecke jumps forward to direct the ball forward. Depay takes that down brilliantly. Lovely piece of skill that. And then Dumfries will be crossed, but that's over everyone, down into the opposite fullback position that Van de Ven just gets there in time to keep it in play. Van de Ven into the box, and good challenge that on the edge of the penalty area for Japan. That snuffed out the danger. It's played forward to Junior Ito. This might be the last attack of the match. In fact, it doesn't even turn out to be an attack. Japan turn and go back to the edge of their own penalty area.
They're happy. As soon as that goal went in the equaliser, they were done. They want the final whistle. They're keeping possession, they're playing longer. And actually, when you look at the Dutch, they're not really chasing this. Both managers, they'll be disappointed they haven't won, but a draw's not the end of the world for either.
And there is the final whistle here in Texas, in the Dallas World Cup Stadium. What an entertaining second half we've seen. It's finished 2-2. Netherlands in front twice, Japan equalising twice, a point apiece.
Cracking game. Really, really good example of what this World Cup's going to be about. There's 2 teams here that will get out of this group. 2 very contrasting styles, and the Dutch players down beneath us, they look disappointed. They had the lead, they had it won. 2 very, very different sets of emotions down there on the pitch. Dutch look very dejected, wondering what had happened, how they couldn't hold on to the lead. The Japanese players are down there celebrating. They know that once again this could be a good year for them. As we said, they've blooded the noses of England, Brazil and many other big nations, and this is another one today. They've come up against a very good Dutch side, one that could go deep in the competition, and they've proved tonight, Japan, why many people are talking about them as dark horses. They are a solid unit, a together unit, a team that understand the tactics that the manager wants, and they're very, very well drilled and effective at what they do.
Yes, the Kurai Uma. In fact, we've talked about them being dark horses so much. Surely now they aren't dark horses at all. Everyone knows everything about them. Hajime Moriyasu, their coach, in his waistcoat, has come across. A nice little exchange between him and Ronald Koeman. And there we are, honours even. Virgil van Dijk and Somerville scoring for the Dutch in the second half, but Nakamura And then Kamada of Crystal Palace, not that he knew much about it, making it 2-2. So the final score here is the players mingle in the centre circle, and we see all of that orange and blue in the stands. And I think they've paid a lot to watch it, but I think they'll feel that they've got something approaching value for money after Netherlands 2, Japan 2.
That stadium announcer was not lying, was she? The magic really did appear in the second half.
Absolutely. I mean, it was bubbling under the surface. We had a good game in the first half, as good as you can expect from a 0-0. There was two teams that tactically played very, very differently. But then, you know, in the first half, they counteracted each other out, and there were two teams in the first half probably that were trying not to lose the game. But the first goal certainly opened up the game, and it was a really good, entertaining watch. Two very good teams. I'm not so sure that we've seen the winner of the tournament here tonight, but I'm certain that both of these two will go through the group.
Mario Melchior, former Netherlands defender, also alongside us right now. Mario, there's going to be disappointment, isn't there, in that Dutch camp for conceding from a set piece, but also allowing Japan to keep pushing forward and keep putting balls into the box.
Yeah, definitely. You know, like if you look at the 70th minute, I think that's when Koeman started to make his substitutions. And what you saw is like he took some key players out. You understand? Malen came out, Gakpo came out, Summerfield came off. So the front four, he kind of changed them. He put Memphis Depay on and Robbie. But one of the key things what really stood out for me is how deep they were playing. You know, you're up. You understand? You're Holland. Normally you're the one that in possession you change games. But this time you'd set so deep and you kind of like inviting the pressure on you. They should have stretched the game and give Japan an option to think. Now they didn't have to think anymore. They just had to keep the ball and keep on pressing. And that was the worst thing I think the Dutch team could have chosen for themselves.
Paul, they invited the pressure on and they were feeling it as well. Mickey van der Ven was screaming, "Wake up, man," when they conceded the corner before the corner that brought them, Japan, the all-important equaliser. And you just wonder why they couldn't, sort of repel that pressure.
No, Mario's bang on with what he says. You've got to question Ronald Koeman's in-game tactics there, because they were on top. When they went 2-1 up, they were bossing the game, they were in charge of the game, they were playing in the right areas, and defensively they weren't under a threat at all. But then he went submissive. He brought Ake on, and they immediately went to a back five. But they'd done that before in the stadium. I noticed that Frankie de Jong was sitting in alongside Van Hecker and Van Dijk, and when they were out of possession, they were getting deeper and deeper with a back five. So he thought at that point, when there was still a fair way to go in the game, that they could just hold on to what they've got. They thought that they were good enough defensively, and they were more and more submissive, sat deeper and deeper, invited Japan onto them. And to his credit, Koeman, they weren't really causing them that many problems. But all of a sudden, they started to press, and when the delivery was correct into the box and the quality was right in the final third, that's when they suffered. But it was a game that the substitutions affected for the Dutch in a negative way, in my opinion.
Mario, thank you so much for your company all throughout the evening. We'll be back in Dallas with John and Paul shortly. Netherlands 2, Japan 2. Earlier it finished Germany 7, Curacao 1. We will be off to Philadelphia. Kick-off at midnight. Ivory Coast versus Ecuador. Sweden versus Tunisia to come in the early hours of your Monday morning. That one kicking off at 3 o'clock with Maz Faruqi and Clinton Morrison. 11 o'clock across the UK. Let's get the latest news here on 5 Live with Richard Foster.